Chapter 54. How did you end up in the fourth teleportation array? Bai Gong Tang asked, hitting the nail on the head. Sima Yue smiled and took a sip of tea, saying, "Someone pushed me in." "You're saying someone wanted to harm you?" Fatty Chu jumped up. "Who is it? Let's go find her." Wei Ziqi pulled Fatty Chu down to sit, saying, "What's the rush? Let's hear what Yue has to say." Meng Ting? Ouyang Fei looked at Sima Yue. The only one who had a grudge with her was Meng Ting. It was no wonder that everyone had forgotten about her. Sima Yue shook her head, saying, "It's not her." "Not her? Then who will want to harm you?" Fatty Chu said, "I heard from others that very few people who went in came out alive." Thinking back to the skeletons she saw in the illusion array, it was true that they did not return. And if they were sent to Pu Luo mountain range like her, their chances of survival would be even slimmer. There are many people who want to harm me," Sima Yue said, "but I believe that the person who pushed me in was not the mastermind. They were just instructed by someone else. What I want to find is the person behind them." "The person behind them?" Wei Ziqi and Fatty Chu looked at Sima Yue. "When the time comes, I might need your help," Sima Yue said. Bai Gongtang replied simply, then turned around and left. Ouyang Fei also nodded and left. Sima Yue watched the two of them leave and sighed. The two of them are still so cold and arrogant. That's already much better. At least they came to help you clean up and care about you. If it was before, I'm afraid that the two of them would have directly returned to their rooms and ignored the outside world. Wei Ziqi said, I was also surprised that the two of them stayed behind to help me clean up." Sima Yue said, "But how did my room become like this? It looks like it's been destroyed." "It's a little strange." Fatty Chu said, "After you got into trouble, we didn't enter your house, so we didn't notice that your house was in such a state." "Did you lose anything?" "I lost a few decorations," Sima Yue said. "Then it should be when we went to class and someone barged in." Wei Ziqi said, "Yes, the things that were lost were not very valuable." Sima Yue said, "Yue, you're back. You'll definitely surprise the people who harmed you." Fatty Chu rubbed his palms together. Thinking about the expressions on the faces of those people who saw Sima Yue going out, he was extremely excited. "Yes, I want to see their expressions too." Sima Yue smiled. "All right, does Teacher Feng know about your return?" Wei Ziqi asked. "He probably doesn't know that I've returned to the academy." Sima Yue thought of Feng Zhixing and smiled. Grandfather said that he was always concerned about her. Even if his actions were a little strange, now that she thought about it, he didn't have any bad intentions. "I'll go to the office to look for him in the afternoon." "All right, then you rest first. We'll go back first." Fatty Chu and Wei Ziqi stood up and left together. Little Roar, who had been lying quietly on the table, opened his eyes and looked at Sima Yue, saying, "These four people are really concerned about you. How do you know?" Little Roar stretched his body and said, "Who am I? I'm a divine roar, an auspicious beast. I'm the most sensitive to human emotions." Sima Yue smiled. She also felt it. This time, when she came back, their eyes were filled with shock and joy. Their first reaction was from the bottom of their hearts. Even Bai Gongtang had a flash of joy. "Let's go upstairs and rest. After that, we'll go look for Teacher Feng." After she finished speaking, she picked up Little Roar from the table and went upstairs. There were no classes in the afternoon. Fatty Chu and the others were cultivating in their own rooms. Sima Yue went to Feng Zhixing's office alone. Knock, knock. Feng Zhixing was meditating when he heard a knock on the door. He opened his eyes and said faintly, "Come in." Sima Yue pushed the door open and entered. She bowed to Feng Zhixing and said, "Teacher Feng, I'm here to report. You're preparing to come back to class?" Feng Zhixing looked at Sima Yue and smiled as he gestured for her to sit on a chair at the side. "Yes, I've already settled the matters at home. That's why I'm back to class." Sima Yue looked at the chair and chose to continue standing. When she faced Feng Zhixing, she always had the feeling of looking up at Mount Tai. She knew that the person in front of her was very strong. As her strength increased, this feeling became stronger and stronger. "Okay, then we'll start classes as usual tomorrow." Feng Zhixing nodded and did not say anything else. "If there's nothing else, I'll leave first," Sima Yue said. "Wait a moment. Feng Zhixing stopped her. The principal knows that you're back and is curious about where you were sent to. He wants you to go see him after you're back. Come with me. After Feng Zhixing finished speaking, he brought Sima Yue to the principal's office. This was Sima Yue's first time meeting the principal. Sima Lai told her that he was good friends with the principal and that she could look for him if she needed anything. Thus, in her impression, the principal should be someone similar to Sima Lai. But when she met him, she realized that the principal was completely different from her grandfather. Sima Lai had the aura of a soldier, giving people an invisible sense of oppression. This principal, on the other hand, gave people a kind of undisciplined feeling, like the wind without any restraints. The principal looked at Sima Yue and was not surprised. He only calmly asked her a few questions about the time she was missing. Sima Yue simply said that she was sent to the Pu Luo mountain range. But she was in danger and was saved by a group of people. Then, she followed them around the periphery for a few months. Feng Zhixing and the principal did not question her words, but they did not believe her either. They only wanted to see her return safely. After leaving the principal's office, Sima Yue was still thinking about how Feng Zhixing patted her head when she left. That feeling was as if he was caressing his own junior. Because she was lost in thought, she did not notice the front. When she left the office, she bumped into someone who was rushing in. "Io, who's so blind? Do you want to die?" The person who was bumped into shouted at her. After seeing clearly that it was her, she said in shock, It's you?" Sima Yue looked at He Qiuji, who had become arrogant after not seeing her for a few months. She thought of how carefully He Qiuji was behind Meng Ting. This change was quite big. Chapter 55. It's really you? Many of the students from Class A were outside the door and were surprised to see Sima Yue standing there. "You're really back alive. I knew you wouldn't die." Meng Ting glanced at Sima Yue. Although her words were not pleasant to hear, Sima Yue could hear the concern in her voice. This girl was actually concerned about her. So she wasn't the one who asked He Qiuji to harm her. She glanced at He Qiuji, who was beside her, and He Qiuji subconsciously took a step back, thinking that she was going to expose her. However, Sima Yue smiled meaningfully at her and ignored her. She looked at the others and asked, "Why are you all here?" "We're here to draw lots," Meng Ting replied. "Draw lots?" Seeing Sima Yue's puzzled expression, the class monitor Shun and walked over and said, "After a while, we'll start accepting missions from the sect. Go draw lots now and pick your group's mission." Sima Yue thought about how Sima Yu ran and Sima Yulu often went on missions and nodded her head in understanding. She asked, "Do I have to go with you to draw lots?" Shannon shook his head and said, "You don't have to draw lots. Your group has already decided which mission it will be. You can go back and ask Wei Ziqi and the others." Shannon said, "Oh, okay." Sima Yue nodded. Since he said so, she would go back and ask. "Then I'll go back first. You could go draw lots." After speaking, she glanced at He Qiuji, who had been standing silently at the side, and smiled devilishly before walking away. "Let's go to Master Feng's place." Shannon led everyone to Feng Zhixing's office. After everyone left, He Qiuji looked at Sima Yue's back and thought of the look in her eyes when she left. Her heart was in her throat. She was certain that Sima Yue was sure that she was the one who pushed Sima Yue when they entered the array. Now that Sima Yue saw her and did not expose her, Sima Yue must be up to no good. Thinking about the general's residence behind Sima Yue, she was so scared that she broke out in cold sweat. If Sima Yue came to seek revenge, she would definitely not be able to deal with her. No, he had to look for them to protect him. In just a moment, He Qiuji's heart had already turned a few twists and turns. "Qiuji, why haven't you come yet?" Meng Ting saw that He Qiuji was still standing there and called out, "Coming." He Qiuji lifted her skirt and chased after him. Sima Yue returned to the courtyard and went straight to Fatty Chu's house. "Fatty Chu, Fatty Chu." Sima Yue knocked on Fatty Chu's door as Wei Ziqi opened the door and came out. "What happened? You didn't go out." Sima Yue looked at Wei Ziqi and said, "It's the same if you're here. I have something to ask you all." Fatty Chu opened the door and rubbed his eyes as he looked at Sima Yue and asked, "Yue, what's wrong?" Sima Yue glanced at Wei Ziqi before entering Fatty Chu's house, with Wei Ziqi following behind. Seeing you call out so anxiously, did you miss me? Fatty Chu looked at Sima Yue and said with a smile. Now that he was familiar with Sima Yue, he knew that she was not as infatuated as the rumors said, so he did not mind joking with her. However, what he did not know was that the rumors were not wrong, but that the soul in her body had changed. Sima Yue found a stool and sat down, saying, "When I went to find Teacher Feng just now, I met Shunin and the rest at the entrance of the teaching block. They said that they were going to pick a mission, and I asked him for mine. He told me to come back and ask you all, what the hell is going on? Oh, you're talking about this. If you didn't mention it, we would have forgotten." Fatty Chu came to Sima Yue's side and sat down, saying, "In school, half of the time is spent studying and the other half is spent on practice and cultivation. You know about this, right?" Sima Yue nodded her head. "In a month or two, it will be time for us to practice. At that time, we will have to carry out a mission from the school. There are difficult and easy missions, so we have to draw lots to decide." Fatty Chu continued to explain. "Then why don't I need to draw lots?" Sima Yue saw that everyone else had gone, but she did not, and felt that it was a little strange. Cough, cough. "Because this mission is divided into groups, one dorm for one group, so you are in our group." Fatty Chu glanced at Wei Ziqi and said apologetically to Sima Yue, "Because we didn't know that you were coming back. When Teacher Feng said that we were going to pick a mission, we chose the most difficult mission, which is the only level 1 mission among the first years. So, you guys don't need to draw lots, right? And because I am in the same dorm as you guys, I have to carry out this mission with you guys?" Sima Yue looked at the two of them and asked. Wei Ziqi and Fatty Chu nodded their heads. "This mission is a little dangerous. That, you just came back, so you don't have to follow us." Wei Ziqi thought that Sima Yue was blaming them for choosing such a dangerous mission and said tactfully, "Why not?" Sima Yue smiled. "Aren't we in the same group? Don't worry, I won't drag you guys down." Seeing the excitement in Sima Yue's eyes, Wei Ziqi and Fatty Chu looked at each other. Was this guy not afraid of danger? "All right, did you tell Teacher Feng about someone trying to harm you?" Fatty Chu thought about how Sima Yue said that the person who tried to harm her was from her class and asked casually. "No." Sima Yue shook her head. "But I did meet her. Then did you expose her?" Fatty Chu asked agitatedly. "No. Why didn't you expose her? She wanted to kill you." Fatty Chu shouted. Sima Yue looked at Fatty Chu's agitated expression and knew that he was feeling indignant on her behalf. She put her hand on his shoulder and said, "Now is not the time. Give her 2 more days. If I were you, I would definitely beat my enemy to death when I see him." Fatty Chu said, "Who exactly pushed you?" Wei Ziqi looked at Sima Yue and asked, "In the past few months, has he Qiu Ji become more high-profile?" Sima Yue asked, "She was the one who pushed you?" Wei Ziqi asked. Sima Yue nodded her head and admitted. "So it was her." Fatty Chu said, "She has been very high-profile in the past few months, and I heard that it was because she curried favor with the Nayland family." "The Nayland family?" Sima Yue rubbed her chin. "If it was their family, then they naturally had the motive and reason to kill her. Yue, the old ancestor of the Nayland family, recently advanced and became a spirit saint. In the past, he was arrogant, but now he is even more arrogant. If it was really them who harmed you, even if your grandfather is the country's general, if you rashly accuse them, I'm afraid it won't have any effect." Fatty Chu was from the capital and was more clear about these matters. "I understand." Sima Yue said, "So I have to gather evidence and make the person who harmed me scram before taking action." Chapter 56. If you want them to admit it, I'm afraid it won't be easy. Even if they admit it in front of you and then deny it, there's nothing you can do about it. Fatty Chu said, "Sigh, if only there was a tape recorder." Sima Yue thought of the tape recorder from her previous life. If there was such a thing, it would be much more convenient. Tape recorder? What's that? It's a type of, weapon that records sound. Sima Yue explained, "As long as you record the sound inside, you can listen to it again later. You can try Soundstone." Ouyang Fei's voice came from the door. "Ouyang, you're here too. Come in and sit." Fatty Chu smiled as he greeted him. Ouyang Fei glanced at Fatty Chu, but did not enter, saying, I was just passing by and happened to hear it. You can use a soundstone for this. After he finished speaking, he left. That's right. How could I have forgotten about the soundstone? Wei Ziqi slapped his forehead as he said, What's a soundstone? Sima Yu asked. A soundstone is similar to the tape recorder you mentioned. As long as you record the sound, you can release the recorded sound after injecting your spirit energy. Wei Ziqi explained. Really? Then do you have a soundstone? Sima Yu asked. A soundstone is very valuable. How can we have one? Wei Ziqi said. Sima Yu glanced at Fatty Chu and he shook his head. But you can go to the Xian Yuan Pavilion to take a look. Who knows? There might be one there. That's right. I'll go look for it first. If there isn't one, then we can only think of another way. Sima Yu finished speaking and prepared to leave. Let's go together. Anyway, I don't have anything to do. Fatty Chu said. Yeah, I've already finished my homework. Wei Ziqi said. Then let's go together. Sima Yu smiled. Hence, the three of them went out together. Bei Gongtang opened the door after they left and looked towards the door, touching the interspatial ring on her hand. Xian Yuan Pavilion was the capital's largest shop. Inside, there were all kinds of pills, spirit weapons, spirit beasts, and everything. If there was something that Xian Yuan Pavilion did not have, then there was no other place. When Sima Yu and the other two entered, the waiter welcomed them warmly. Oh, isn't this fifth young master? I haven't seen you in a long time. I wonder what fifth young master wants to buy this time. The waiter said with a smile. The news of Sima Yu going missing from the school was known by the entire capital city. Now that they saw Sima Yu here, they were more or less surprised. It was not Sima Yu's first time here. In the past, she often came here to look for the things that Murongan liked. She glanced at the general merchandise area and said, I want a soundstone. Soundstone? The waiter didn't think that Sima Yu would actually ask for this. He was startled for a moment before saying apologetically, Fifth young master, we don't have soundstones in our store right now. You don't have one? Fatty Chu said, This is the largest store in the Dongchun Kingdom, and you don't even have one. The waiter smiled and said, We are the largest store in the Dongchun Kingdom, but this soundstone is really hard to come by. There might not even be one in a few hundred years. Even the cleverest housewife can't cook without rice. If this world doesn't have it, then we naturally don't have it. But didn't I hear that there was a soundstone before? It seems like the news came from your store. Fatty Chu's information was really fast and accurate. We did have it 2 months ago, but it was bought by someone a month ago. The waiter said, Who bought it? The Nailin clan. The waiter replied. Sima Yu and Fatty Chu looked at each other. If this soundstone was bought by someone else, then with Sima Yu's status and price, it was possible for her to buy it. However, this soundstone was bought by someone from the Nailin clan. If she wanted to buy it, then the possibility of that was 0. Without the soundstone, the three of them could only return. Yue, it's all right. Without the soundstone, we can think of other ways. Fatty Chu comforted her. Yes, it's not that other ways are impossible. It's just that it would be a lot more troublesome. If we had the soundstone, then we could easily chase them out of the academy. Sima Yu said, Why don't I send a letter to my family and see if they can help us find it? Wei Ziqi said, No need. It's best if we can get our hands on this soundstone today. After today, even if we find it, it'll be useless. Sima Yu said, Why today? Fatty Chu did not understand. Because tonight, He Chio Ji will be looking for that person. Sima Yu said. Seeing that Fatty Chu and Wei Ziqi were a little disappointed, she smiled. It's all right. Although tonight is the best opportunity and it would be a pity to miss it, there are still other ways. Don't look so down. Yes, if you need anything, just tell us directly. Fatty Chu said. Okay, I will. Creak dash, Bei Gongtang's door opened, and Bei Gongtang appeared at the doorway. She looked at the three people in the courtyard and threw something at Sima Yu. After that, she said nonchalantly, I'm hungry. Are you cooking tonight? If you're not, I'm going to the cafeteria. Sima Yu caught the thing that Bei Gongtang threw at her and realized that it was a small and exquisite stone. From the outside, it looked no different from a normal stone, except that there were some purple veins on it. What is this? She saw that the stone looked pretty good and felt pretty good, so she asked. Sound stone. Wei Ziqi looked at the stone and said in shock. This is a sound stone? Sima Yue looked at Bei Gongtang. How did she get this? On the way back, Little Roar said disdainfully that there was nothing in this world. In the place where they used to live, this soundstone was simply something that was thrown on the streets and not picked up. Now, the entire country did not even have one. It was too poor, too poor. Although Sima Yue did not know what the world that Little Roar was talking about was, she knew that there were other places in the Yulin continent. Those places were much better than this place. Yeah, I accidentally got it in the past. Bei Gongtang explained simply, You haven't said if you're going to cook or not. Sima Yue smiled widely and nodded, saying, I'm going to cook. It's still early now and they won't make any moves. We'll make a move after we've eaten our fill. After she finished speaking, she kept the soundstone in her interspatial ring and went into the kitchen. Because she was used to putting things in her interspatial ring, she forgot that she was still unable to cultivate in their eyes and had no way of using her interspatial ring. Wei Ziqi and Fatty Chu heard that there was good food and left with Sima Yue. They did not even notice that Sima Yue was already able to cultivate. Chapter 57. After they finished eating, Fatty Chu and Wei Ziqi stayed behind to clean up. Just as they finished washing the dishes, Sima Yue received news from Little Roar that Hichioji had left the house. It was almost midnight. For Hichioji to leave the house at this time, it was obvious what she was going to do. I'm going out, Sima Yue said to Fatty Chu and the rest. Did Hichioji leave the house? Fatty Chu asked. Sima Yue nodded. Then let's go, Wei Ziqi said as he took off the aprons that Sima Yue had prepared for them. It was their first time wearing this, and the two boys were not used to it. However, they did not want to dirty their clothes. Since they were in their own courtyard, it did not matter. Sima Yue did not say anything and brought the two of them out. Following Little Roar's instructions, the three of them groped their way to the Academy's lake. Yue, how did you know they were here? Fatty Chu asked when he saw Sima Yue running towards them. Sima Yue did not reply, and Little Roar flew over. Seeing Little Roar, the two of them understood that Sima Yue had sent Little Roar out to spy on Hichioji. Yu, only that bad woman has come out. No one else has come yet, Little Roar reported. Hearing Little Roar speak, the other two stared with their eyes wide open. They had always thought that Little Roar was Sima Yue's pet. Now that they thought about it, it was at least a holy beast. Sima Yue hugged Little Roar and said to Fatty Chu and Wei Ziqi, Let's find a place to hide first. The person behind Hichioji might be here soon. Okay. The three of them saw a fake mountain not far from the pavilion by the lake. They slowly crept behind the fake mountain and waited with Hichioji in the pavilion. Hichioji kept looking out of the pavilion and anxiously paced back and forth. After a while, a figure slowly walked over. Miss Nalan, you finally came? Hichioji saw the person coming and greeted her. Nalan glanced at the anxious Hichioji and walked straight to the pavilion to sit down. Then she asked, Tell me, why did you call me out so late? Sima Yue never thought that the person behind Hichioji was actually Nalan, the woman who watched the original Sima Yue get beaten to death with Murongan. It was obvious that Nalan's appearance had shocked Fatty Chu and Wei Ziqi. They had never thought that the person who wanted to harm Sima Yue would actually be Nalan, who they had no relations with. Miss Nalan, I called you out because I had no other choice, Hichioji said as she knelt down. She looked at Nalan and said, Miss Nalan, save me. Hichioji's words pulled the thoughts of the three people behind the fake mountain back to reality. Sima Yue took out the soundstone and poured her spiritual energy into it. When the purple veins on the soundstone felt the spiritual energy, it was as if they were alive. They started to move around the stone, scaring Sima Yue so much that she almost threw it away. Fatty Chu and Wei Ziqi then realized that Sima Yue had used her spatial ring. Seeing her use her spiritual energy to move the soundstone, the two of them were even more shocked than when they saw Nalan. This. Fatty Chu wanted to say something, but his mouth was covered by someone. Wei Ziqi shook his head at Fatty Chu, indicating that he should not say anything. Although he was also shocked, if he were to make a sound, it would definitely disrupt Sima Yoyue's plans. Fatty Chu blinked, indicating that he understood. Only then did Wei Ziqi put down his hand. Sima Yue looked at Wei Ziqi gratefully before turning around to look at the two people in the pavilion. Save me? Nailan Lan looked disdainfully at He Chioji, who was kneeling on the ground. This kind of person did not have any value in her eyes. However, because she had helped her to get rid of Sima Yue, she had reluctantly allowed her to follow her. Tell me, who did you offend this time? It's Sima Yue. She's back. He Chioji said. Sima Yue? Hearing Sima Yue's name, Nailan Lan was shocked and said, You're saying that she's back? Yes, I saw her in the school building today. She's alive and well, not dead at all. He Chioji thought of the way Sima Yue looked at her and shivered. How can that be? Are you sure it's her? Seeing that He Chioji did not seem to be lying, she was extremely shocked. It's really her, He Chioji said with certainty. Miss Nailan, you said that entering the fourth teleportation array would mean certain death. That was why I believed you and pushed her in. However, she's back now and wants to take revenge on me. That look in her eyes makes people's hair stand. She said that she's going to take my life. Miss Nailan, you have to save me. You were the one who told me to do that. As she said that, she reached out to grab Nailan Lan's clothes, seeking a sense of security. Nailan Lan slapped He Chioji's hand away and said, What are you panicking for? Even if that trash is back, what could she do to us? She saw me push her into the fourth teleportation array. She'll definitely take revenge on me, He Chioji said. The school prohibits students from killing each other. Once discovered, you'll be expelled immediately. Nailan Lan was not flustered. As long as Sima Yue doesn't have any evidence, she can't say that we did it. As long as you don't accept when she challenges you, you won't be in danger. Furthermore, would that trash dare to find trouble with you in the school? Don't tell me that you can't even beat a trash. But I'm afraid that she'll use underhanded means. He Chioji said worriedly. Didn't I say that she won't dare to do anything in the school? Unless she wants to be expelled. Nailan Lan said disapprovingly. But what if it's outside the school? He Chioji asked. Outside? You just have to stay in the school. Nailan Lan said, You can just stay in the school for this period of time. Aren't you going to carry out the school's mission? Whether or not she can come back alive is still a question. In the future, don't look for me for this kind of thing. She's really a cowardly trash. I don't like people who follow me to be like this. Do you understand? Without waiting for He Chioji to reply, she stood up and left the pavilion. He Chioji watched as Nailan Lan left. Seeing that she had walked far away, she spat out. What are you being so arrogant for? Isn't it because you have a family? If not for the Nailan family, you'd be the same as everyone else. If you don't protect me, I'll just expose you when the time comes and we'll all die together. After He Chioji left, Sima Yue stopped inserting spiritual energy into the sound stone. Turning around, she looked at Wei Ziqi and Nailan Lan and said, With this thing, let's see how they'll quibble when the time comes. I know that you guys have doubts in your hearts. Let's go back and talk about it. Chapter 58. She took out the sound stone and inserted some spirit energy into it before placing it on the table. The purple veins on the sound stone flowed, and very quickly, He Chioji and Nailan Lan's conversation by the lake could be heard. Once the conversation ended, the sound stone dimmed again. This is indeed very mysterious. Sima Yoyue's eyes lit up when she heard it. She never thought that this stone would be so powerful. However, she had another question in her heart. This sound stone was so rare that even Xin Yuan Pavilion did not have it. How did Bei Gong Tang have it? Yue, shouldn't you answer our question now? Fatty Chu's voice pulled Sima Yue back from her thoughts. She looked at them suspiciously and asked, What question? Is it the matter of you being able to cultivate? Fatty Chu glanced at the interspatial ring on her hand. That ring was really unremarkable. If they did not know that it was an interspatial ring, most people would not think that it was an interspatial ring. You can use the interspatial ring and insert spirit energy into the soundstone. This means that you are now a spirit master. That's right, I am now a spirit master, Sima Yue admitted. But weren't you unable to cultivate? Wei Ziqi and the others might not know, but Fatty Chu was a native of the capital and knew Sima Yue's background. Yeah, I was unable to cultivate in the past, Sima Yue said, but when I went missing this time, I had a fortuitous encounter and my blocked meridians were opened. Thus, I was able to cultivate. Really? Fatty Chu's eyes widened. He never thought that her disappearance would actually turn misfortune into fortune. Not only did she come back alive, she could even cultivate. Sima Yue nodded her head and said, but it's hard for me to say the specifics. In any case, this is the result. Currently, other than my family, only the two of you know about this. You have to help me keep this a secret. Why? Fatty Chu did not understand. It's a good thing that you can cultivate. Why don't you let others know? If those people knew that you could cultivate, they wouldn't call you trash anymore. I don't care what others say, Sima Yue said, but if others know that I can cultivate, I'm afraid there will be some unnecessary trouble. Fatty Chu knew that Sima Yue was talking about the Nalan family. The last time he returned home, he had heard that the conflict between the general's residence and the Nalan family had become even more intense. Because they knew that Sima Yue was a trash, they hadn't targeted her yet. If they knew that she had the ability to cultivate, they would probably make a move on her. All right, we definitely won't tell anyone about this. Fatty Chu nodded his head seriously. Wei Ziqi also nodded in agreement. Sima Yue smiled and said, thank you both. What are you thanking me for? Wei Ziqi said, we are friends, so of course I have to keep your secret. Originally, I didn't want you to go on this mission because it's a little dangerous. Although you can cultivate now, your level shouldn't be high. If you go, you might be in danger. However, for cultivators, this was a rare opportunity to practice. So you should consider whether you want to go or not. When Sima Yue heard Wei Ziqi say that her level wasn't high, she only smiled and didn't refute. His words didn't have any intention of mocking her. Normal people wouldn't think that she could cultivate to such a high level in such a short period of time. Furthermore, he was also thinking for her sake. Since it's a team mission, I naturally have to go. Sima Yue said, but don't worry, I won't drag you guys down. We aren't afraid that you'll drag us down, but this mission is dangerous. If we can't take care of you when there's danger, then you might lose your life. Fatty Chu said. I understand. Sima Yue said, I really cherish my life. Don't worry. Since you decided, that's good. Wei Ziqi didn't say anything else. He looked at Sima Yue and said, then when do you plan to reveal the true faces of these two people? Sima Yue looked at the soundstone on the table and smiled evilly, saying, for this matter, the sooner the better. Otherwise, my eyes will hurt when I look at them. That Nalan clan is indeed rather arrogant in the academy. If you were to cause their clan's genius to be chased out of the academy, they would definitely explode in anger. Fatty Chu beamed as he said, explode in anger? Sima Yue smiled. It would be good if they exploded in anger. The next day, Sima Yue went to class as usual. On the way, when people saw her, they all stared with wide eyes. Didn't that trash die? Why did he come back? That's right. Didn't they say that no one who entered the fourth teleportation array came back alive? That's what I heard. Then why did that trash come back? Furthermore, looking at his appearance, nothing happened to him. Don't tell me that the teleportation array didn't have any killing power towards trash. Damn, if that's the case, then isn't that trash's luck too good? Even though he was trash, he still managed to save his life. Lower your voice. If he hears you, he'll get the general's people to deal with you. Che, isn't he just relying on the general's support? All right, let's go. Just looking at this trash makes me feel bad. The few of them left as they spoke. Sima Yue walked in front of them and heard their words clearly. These people were just jealous because they didn't have a good family background. They felt that it was unfair for trash like her to live in such an environment. When the new students of Class A saw Sima Yue walk into the classroom, they weren't as surprised as the others. After all, many people had seen her yesterday. Sima Yue saw He Chio Ji the moment she entered the classroom. Seeing that she was also looking over, Hichioji gave her a meaningful smile. She was so scared that she immediately lowered her head. She sat in the last row with Bei Gongtang. Her seat was still clean, and there wasn't even a speck of dust. I don't like dirty seats next to me, Bei Gongtang explained simply, then took out her textbook and started reading. Thank you. No matter what, the other party had helped her clean her desk. She still had to thank them. You guys went out last night. Have you settled everything? Bei Gongtang's gaze was still on her book. However, thinking about how Sima Yue had looked at Hichioji just now, she knew that there would be a good show coming up. She didn't know why, but when she saw Sima Yue, she always felt a sense of familiarity. She would also subconsciously pay attention to her matters. This was something that had never happened in her previous life. In the past, she only wanted to become stronger and return to that place to take revenge on those people. Now that she was actually concerned about other people's matters, she felt that it was strange. Chapter 59. This lesson was about geography, and it just so happened that the Pu Luo mountain range was covered. After explaining the terrain, the teacher began to talk about the spirit beasts in the mountain range. The entire lesson was focused on explaining the characteristics of the spirit beasts and so on. Sima Yue listened attentively. If she wanted to survive in this world, she had to understand it well. Furthermore, she had seen some of the spirit beasts in the Pu Luo mountain range before, so it did not sound too boring, especially since the teacher's words were very practical. If she had known these things before she went to the Pu Luo mountain range, it would not have been as difficult to deal with the spirit beasts as before. She and Bei Gongtang listened attentively, but that Fatty Chu and Wei Ziqi's minds were not here. They were also absent-minded as they listened to the lesson. With great difficulty, they managed to endure until the end of the lesson. The moment the teacher left, the two of them glanced at Sima Yue and immediately ran out. One of them went to look for Feng Zhixing, while the other ran towards the school's plaza. Before leaving, Wei Ziqi even shouted towards the classroom, "If you want to watch the show, go to the school's plaza." Being shouted at by Wei Ziqi without rhyme or reason, everyone's curiosity was piqued, and they all went to the school's plaza. Hichioji saw that everyone had left and sat in her seat without moving. She had a premonition that this show had something to do with her. "Let's go." Sima Yue and Bei Gongtang were waiting at the back of the classroom. Seeing that everyone had left and Hichioji was still sitting in her seat, they stepped forward and said, "I'm not going." Hichioji said, "I still have some things to do." "Yes, I still have some things to do. I'll leave first." After speaking, she stood up and wanted to leave. Sima Yue grabbed her collar and said, "You are one of the main characters today. If you don't go, then wouldn't this show be incomplete? Let's go." "Sima Yue, let go of me." When Hichioji heard Sima Yue say this, she was even more unwilling to go. She twisted her body in an attempt to break free from her grip, but no matter how she tried to move, she was still held tightly. Sima Yue saw that Hichioji was being restless and grabbed her hand. Hichioji's hand pulled her hand back. Yue was in pain, and she scolded, "Sima Yue, what are you trying to do? Aren't you afraid of being expelled from the academy?" Sima Yue's hand tightened. "Sima Yue, you think that I would deal with you in private? I will not give Nalan an excuse to expel me from the academy." Yue Sima. Hichioji looked at Bei Gongtang, who was standing at the side, and gave up resisting. By the time Sima Yue and Bei Gongtang brought Hichioji to the Academy Plaza, there were already many people gathered there. Other than the new students, there were also many older students. The Academy Plaza was right in the center of the academy. It was the place where students had to pass by after class. Hearing that there was going to be a show, everyone stayed behind. Those who wanted to watch the show stood in groups of 2s and 3s. Everyone was curious about what was going to happen today. Nalan and Murong and walked out of the classroom together with 3 or 4 other students. When they passed by the Academy Plaza, they were stopped by Sima Yue. Seeing Sima Yue, The two leaders' faces fell. Murong's face was cold as he said, Sima Yue, why are you looking for me again? Sima Yue, how can you be so shameless? You just heard that you came back, and you came to pester young Master Murong. The people behind started to scold her. When has he ever been shameless? Every time he saw young Master Murong, he would come running over like a dog. Sima Yulu had received Sima Yue's message in the morning, telling him to come to the Academy Plaza after class. He didn't expect to hear those people scolding his brother the moment he arrived. He rushed over and punched the person who was talking. You dare to scold my brother? You're looking for death. Ah, that person was beaten to the ground. Sima Yulu, do you want to fight? Those people quickly helped their friend up. So, what if I want to fight? Sima Yulu looked at the people who were glaring at him. He stood in front of Sima Yue and raised his chin, looking like he was going to beat them up. Sima Yue pulled on Sima Yuli's arm, saying, Fourth brother, why are you wasting your breath on these trash? Aren't you lowering your own status for nothing? Sima Yue, what did you say? Someone shouted. Fourth brother, look, they don't even understand human language. There's no point in arguing with them. Sima Yue shrugged her shoulders, then looked at Murong'en and said, Murong'en, you're even more disgusting than them. Narcissistic dogs are the most annoying. The commotion had already attracted many people over. When they heard Sima Yue's words, everyone sighed. Since when did Sima Yue speak to Murong'en like that? What did you say? He was called a dog in front of so many people, and the other party was a waste. His anger flared up. It's the truth. Sima Yue said, I didn't come here to look for you. The moment you opened your mouth, you asked me why I came here. If this isn't narcissism, then what is? Or is it that you're impressed by this young master's beauty and hope that this young master came here to look for you so that you can do something? Nonsense. Murong'en quickly denied. Whether you're talking nonsense or not, I'm too lazy to argue with you. Sima Yue saw that Fatty Chu had already brought Feng Zhixing along with the short and fat head of teaching. Seeing that it was about time, she said, Nalan Lan, I'm here to look for you today. Look for me? When Nalan Lan heard Sima Yue's words, her heart skipped a beat. She thought that Sima Yue couldn't possibly have any evidence against her. Even if Chioji said that she was the one who ordered it, she could just deny it. Thus, she calmed down and asked, Why are you looking for me? Why is everyone gathered here? Also, who did you say called us here? The head of teaching looked at the crowd and asked with a frown. Head of teaching, I was the one who asked someone to invite you here. Sima Yue took 2 steps forward and said, I have something that I want the academy to decide for me. Seeing Sima Yue, the head of teaching's eyes flashed with disdain and disgust. However, he still asked, What's the matter? The last time when I was choosing the spirit beast eggs, I was framed by someone and was pushed into the 4th teleportation array. This is something that everyone knows. Now that I've found the person who framed me, I wanted to take revenge on them directly. However, I thought of the Academy's rule that no one is allowed to harm other students, so I specially asked the Academy to decide for me. Who was it? The head of teaching had yet to speak when Feng Zhixing asked first. He had always been suspicious. Out of so many people, why was she the only one who was pushed into the 4th teleportation array? So it was someone who framed her. Thinking about how she almost didn't make it back, his cold eyes flashed with coldness. Sima Yulu glared fiercely at the people around him. Since she was here to say it, the person who framed her must be here. Thinking that someone actually dared to frame Sima Yue, his face was filled with uncontrollable rage. Chapter 60. Fourth brother, don't be agitated. I believe that the Academy will uphold justice. Sima Yu patted Sima Yu Li's shoulder, then looked at He Chioji, who was trembling with fear. She then looked at Nalan Lan, who had a confident expression on her face, and said, Nalan Lan, why did you want to harm me? Sima Yue's words caused an uproar in the quiet square. Everyone looked at Nalan Lan in disbelief. She was the one who caused Sima Yue's death. Sima Yue, don't talk nonsense. When did I harm you? Nalan Lan immediately denied. You went missing when the freshmen were choosing the beast eggs. I'm a senior. How could I harm you? I didn't go to the cave with you. The head of teaching nodded and said, what Nalan Lan said is right. She's not a new student. How could she possibly harm you? Sima Yue saw that the dean was going to side with Nalan Lan. She didn't go, but she got someone else to do it. Right, Hichioji? You wouldn't push me to the fourth teleportation array for no reason, right? When Hichioji was called out, her body trembled subconsciously. She raised her head and saw that everyone was looking at her. She stuttered and couldn't speak. Nalan Lan looked at Hichioji and said to the head of teaching, Sir, I really didn't want to hurt Sima Yue. If she tells Hichioji to say that I ordered her to do it, I won't be able to defend myself. Hichioji did not expect Nalan Lan to say this. She looked at her in shock. Anger and helplessness flashed across her eyes as she said, Miss Nalan, you were the one who told me that entering the fourth teleportation formation would lead to certain death. You told me to push Sima Yue in while we were choosing the beast eggs. Don't try to push all the blame onto me now. Nalan Lan had an expression that said, You see, I knew she would say that. I think it's Sima Yue who told her to say that, right? You know very well whether it's true or not, don't you? Sima Yue smirked. She looked at Nalan Lan as if she was a clown. Know what? Sima Yue, I know that our families don't have a good relationship, but you can't slander me like this. Sima Yue, what do you want to do? Morongin looked at Sima Yue with disgust. He felt that she was doing this to attract his attention, and he found her to be an eyesore. Do I need you to ask me what I want to do? Sima Yue glanced disdainfully at Morongin. She could tell that he was being narcissistic. Feng Zhixing regained his calm and said, You said that it was Hichioji who pushed you into the teleportation array, and that she was instructed by Nalan Lan? Sima nodded. Feng Zhixing looked at Hichioji and asked with a cold face, Hichioji, do you plead guilty? Hichioji looked at Feng Zhixing and knelt down. Teacher Feng, I didn't want to harm Sima Yue. It was Nalan Lan who told me to do it. If she didn't tell me, how would a new student like me know that there was a problem with the fourth teleportation array? Nalan Lan wasn't the only one who knew that there was a problem with the teleportation array. What proof do you have that she told you to do it? Do you have any proof? The head of teaching said, If not, I can say that someone else told you and you wanted to protect the person behind you. My words are the proof. It was really Nalan Lan who told me to do it. Hichioji didn't expect that the head of teaching wouldn't believe her words. Sima Yue wasn't surprised by the current situation. After all, the head of teaching's surname was Nalan. He was a member of the Nalan family. Naturally, he would speak up for Nalan Lan. Your words naturally can't be used as proof. The head of teaching said, If you don't have any other proof, I will have to make a decision on this matter. Hichioji glared at Nalan Lan unwillingly. At that time, she had never thought that Sima Yue would come back alive. Furthermore, the two of them would always meet alone. It was a verbal agreement, so there was naturally no other evidence. Now, this head of teaching announces that Hichioji framed Sima Yue and violated the school's rule of not harming students. Hichioji will be expelled from the school and will no longer be protected by the school. She can't say that she is a student of the school. The head of teaching said, No, don't expel me. Hichioji heard that the head of teaching had expelled her just like that and cried. It was really Nalan Lan who told me to do it. She is the mastermind. Nonsense. You're no longer a student of the school. If you dare to randomly accuse a student of the school will not let you off easily. The head of teaching roared. Then he turned around to look at Sima Yue and asked, What do you think of this decision? Sima Yue was waiting for the head of teaching to punish Hichioji and said, I am very satisfied with the punishment for this accomplice. However, I hope that the head of teaching can deal with the culprit fairly. When the head of teaching heard Sima Yue's words, he raised his eyebrows and said, What do you mean? I mean it literally. Sima Yue said, Just now, when you said that you had evidence, you only asked Hichioji. You didn't ask me. You said that you have evidence? Feng Zhixing looked at Sima Yue and asked, Yes. Ziqi. Sima Yue looked at Wei Ziqi and said, Yes. Wei Ziqi took out a soundstone and handed it over to Sima Yue. Sima Yue took the soundstone and turned around to give it to Feng Zhixing, saying, Everything is here. Feng Zhixing did not think that Sima Yue would actually have a soundstone. He naturally knew how to use it. Holding the soundstone, He inserted a bit of spiritual energy into it, and the vein patterns on the sound stone began to move. Head of teaching, you must listen carefully. Sima Yue said with a smile. Help? Say it. Who did you offend this time? Nalan Lan's voice sounded from the soundstone. It's Sima Yue. She's back. Ichioji said. Sima Yue? You said that she's back? Yes, I saw her in the school building today. She's alive and well. She's not dead at all. How can that be? Are you sure it's her? The voice from the soundstone caused Ichioji and Nalan Lan to be stunned. This was clearly the conversation between the two of them at the pavilion by the lake last night. It's really her. Miss Nalan, you said that if one entered the fourth teleportation circle, they would definitely die. That was why I believed you and pushed her in. But now that she's back, she wants to take revenge on me. That look in her eyes makes people's hair stand. She said that she's going to take my life. Miss Nalan, you have to save me. You were the one who told me to do this. What are you panicking for? Even if that trash is back, what could she do to us? She saw me push her into the fourth teleportation circle. She will definitely take revenge on me. The school prohibits students from killing each other. Once it's discovered that someone harms another person, they will immediately be expelled from the school. As long as Sima Yue doesn't have evidence, she can't say that we did it. As long as you don't accept when she challenges you, you won't be in danger. Also, would that trash dare to cause trouble for you in the school? You can't even beat a trash, right? Hearing this, the surrounding students looked at Nalan Lan in shock. She really was the one who ordered Ichioji to do this. Chapter 61. Nalan, it's really you. When Murong and heard the conversation from the soundstone, he looked at Nalan Lan in disbelief. Nalan Lan didn't expect Sima Yue to have such a thing. She didn't have any evidence, but now the evidence was conclusive. She couldn't defend herself. Director, you heard the conversation. Ichioji is just an executor. The mastermind is Nalan Lan. She wants to kill me. Sima Yue said. The head of teaching's face was extremely dark. He didn't expect Sima Yue to have such a trick up her sleeves. She directly targeted Nalan Lan. If it was an ordinary person, then he would just expel them. However, Nalan Lan was a genius of the Nalan clan. If she was expelled by the academy, then the clan would definitely not let him off easily. Even if he was the dean of the academy, he was still bound by the clan's restrictions. Dean, you've seen the evidence. Please uphold justice for my student. Feng Zhixing said directly when he saw the dean's expression. This, Sima Yue, you only have a voice, and it only said Miss Nalan. It doesn't say that it's Nalan Lan, so this evidence can't be established. The dean thought for a while and said something that even he didn't believe. Hearing this, the surrounding students hissed. Director, what do you mean by this? Feng Zhixing said with a cold face. The head of teaching seemed to be very satisfied with the reason he found and said, That's what I mean. There's not enough evidence. We can't say that it was Nalan Lan who ordered it, so we can't make any decisions about Nalan Lan. Director, how can you be like this? Sima Yulu shouted at the teaching director. Sima Yulu, what kind of attitude is this? The head of teaching looked at Sima Yulu with dissatisfaction. If you continue to be like this, be careful that I don't charge you with the crime of disrespecting your teacher. You. Before the head of teaching could finish his words, he felt a figure flash before his eyes, followed by Nalan Lan's scream. Sima Yue, what are you doing? When the head of teaching saw Sima Yue walking towards Nalan Lan, he placed a dagger on her neck when no one was paying attention. What am I doing? Didn't you see it? Sima Yue said. Anyway, you've decided to side with her today. The evidence was clear, but you didn't punish her. From this, it seemed that hurting a classmate wasn't a big deal. So I thought, since that's the case, I'll settle this matter myself. I don't know if her head will still be on her neck if my dagger slips. Stop! The dean saw Sima Yue's dagger moving and immediately stopped her. Why should I stop? Sima Yue looked sarcastically at the head of teaching. So many students heard the conversation between Ichioji and Nalan Lan, but you insist that it wasn't her. Since that's the case, I can kill her and say that I didn't do it. Anyway, I believe that the general's residence has the ability to shut everyone up. You, when the head of teaching saw Sima Yu's dagger drawing a line of blood on Nalanlan's neck, he wanted to go forward and separate them, but he was stopped by Feng Zhixing. The two exchanged 2 blows and then separated. The head of teaching looked at Feng Zhixing and shouted, "Teacher Feng, what are you doing? You're stopping me. Are you trying to let Sima Yue kill Nalanlan?" Feng Zhixing stood in front of Sima Yue and looked at the head of teaching. He said, "I think Yue is right. Since you're not willing to uphold justice for my student, then let her settle it herself. When she's done, I'll punish her." When Sima Yue heard Feng Zhixing's words, she almost laughed out loud. What did he mean by, "when she's done, I'll punish her"? When Nalanlan died, he would at most expel her from the school. At that time, their Nalan family would lose a genius, and she would at most be expelled from the school. Moreover, she was certain that the head of teaching wouldn't dare to let her really hurt Nalanlan, or else he wouldn't be able to answer to the Nalan family. "Teacher Feng, I want to punish you," the head of teaching said, "but if you step aside now, I won't pursue the matter." The head of teaching didn't know Feng Zhixing's strength. He only knew that he was someone the principal valued, so he didn't want to have a direct confrontation with him. From his point of view, Feng Zhixing was offending his superiors and obstructing him from enforcing the law. Giving him a chance was already not letting him down. However, Feng Zhixing didn't intend to accept his kindness. "Since you can't uphold justice, then I naturally can't believe what you're saying now," Feng Zhixing said seriously. "So, today I won't let you hurt my student. If you want to punish me, then punish me." "Sima Yue, do you know what kind of ending you'll face if you dare to hurt Nalanlan?" The head of teaching saw that Feng Zhixing didn't move, and Sima Yu's dagger could take Nalanlan's life at any time. So he turned around and said to Sima Yue, "Isn't it just being expelled?" Sima Yue smiled evilly. "But before I'm expelled, I'll have a good time first." After saying that, she waved the dagger and prepared to cut Nalanlan's neck. "Stop!" The surrounding people were shocked by Sima Yu's actions, and the head of teaching even shouted. Just as Sima Yu's dagger was a centimeter away from Nalanlan's neck, a terrifying pressure came from the school building. That pressure caused everyone present to be unable to move. Only Feng Zhixing turned around to look at the source of the pressure. That was the head of teaching's office. The head of teaching's window opened, and a figure flew out and landed on the square. Seeing Sima Yue and Nalanlan, he walked over and pulled Nalanlan away from Sima Yue. After that terrifying pressure dissipated. "Everyone else, disperse. The few of you come to my office." The old head of teaching looked at Sima Yue and the others and left with his hands clasped behind his back. Since the head of teaching had spoken, the others did not dare to say anything and dispersed. Sima Yue, Feng Zhixing, Sima Yulu, the head of teaching, Nalanlan, Hiqiu Ji, and the others followed the head of teaching to his office. Nalanlan covered her neck and glared fiercely at Sima Yue. It was too sudden just now, and she did not notice how Sima Yue got close to her. However, she really felt a strong murderous intent just now. She knew that if the head of teaching did not come out, Sima Yue would really kill her. Sima Yue glanced at Nalanlan and used her hand to make a throat-slitting action. Seeing her shrink back subconsciously, she smiled happily. After that, she looked at Feng Zhixing, who was walking in front. She had just noticed that under the head of teaching's pressure, he was still able to move freely. This proved that his strength was above the head of teaching. It was said that the head of teaching was the most powerful person in Dongqin Kingdom. He was even more powerful than Sima Lai. Feng Zhixing did not look old. Was he really stronger than the head of teaching? What was this kind of person trying to do by hiding in the school? Chapter 62. Crazy Wife. Miracle Doctor 5th Miss Crazy Wife. Miracle Doctor 5th Miss Crazy Wife. Miracle Doctor 5th Miss 62 Readable Chinese Network. The newest version of Readable Chinese Network. Welcome to Readable Chinese Network. Crazy Wife. The Godly Doctor's 5th young miss has no pop-up window to read. Fan Bone Wood's new book Crazy Wife. The Godly Doctor's 5th Young Miss latest chapter is updated the fastest here. Current location, the voice of God, crazy wife. 5th Miss of the Divine Doctor 1, 2, 3, wink with a frown. When they arrived at the principal's office, everyone consciously split into 2 groups. Nail and Lan stood behind the head of teaching. Sima Yu and Sima Yulu stood behind Feng Zhixing. Ichioji looked around and stood beside Sima Yu. The principal sat in his seat and looked at the teaching director, saying, "How do you manage the academy's affairs? You almost killed someone." "Principal, it was Sima Yu who wanted to kill Nail and Lan. I wanted to stop her, but I was stopped by Teacher Feng. You should ask Teacher Feng why he stopped me." The head of teaching pushed all the blame onto Sima Yu and Feng Zhixing. The principal looked at Feng Zhixing with a cold face. It was obvious that he was very angry. Sima Yu heard that he was very scary when he was angry. She couldn't help but worry about Feng Zhixing. She was afraid that the principal would find trouble with him. However, the principal suddenly shouted at the dean, "Do you think you have the final say in this school? Although I don't really manage the school's affairs, I'm not blind. I can clearly see what's happening in the square. Now you're trying to push the blame onto someone else? I think you're a director for nothing. Do you want to give up your position? I'll get someone to replace you right away." "No, principal." The dean wanted to explain, but the principal glared at him. "Where's the sound stone?" the principal asked. Feng Zhixing stepped forward and placed the sound stone on the table. The principal picked up the sound stone and injected his spiritual energy into it. The dialogue from before began to play again. As he listened, he glared daggers at the head of teaching. His meaning was that the head of teaching was so obvious, yet he still made such a decision. The head of teaching was so scared that he broke out in cold sweat. After listening to the recording, the principal looked at Nail and Lan and asked, "Do you have anything else to say?" Nail and Lan snorted coldly and turned her head to the side. "Since that's the case, let's dismiss him." The principal said, "He Chioji, the same goes for you. When the 2 of you go back, pack your things and leave the academy. From this moment on, you are no longer students of the academy. Now go back and pack your things." Nail and Lan walked out first. When she passed by Sima Yu, she glared at her fiercely. Seeing that the situation had been settled, Hichioji could only leave unwillingly. "As for you, as the head of teaching, you have been unfair in your handling of affairs and engaged in malpractice for personal gain. You will be suspended for a year. During this time, someone will take over your position. You should go home and reflect on your actions," the principal said to the head of teaching. The dean wanted to defend himself, but when he saw the principal's stern gaze, he swallowed his words and turned to leave. Sima Yu rubbed her nose. Was the matter settled just like that? No matter what, Nail and Lan had been fired. Her first goal had been achieved. Right now, only Sima Yu, Feng Zhixing, and the principal were in the house. Seeing that Sima Yu was distracted, the principal snorted and pulled her back to reality. Sima Yu saw that the principal was looking at her and immediately stood up straight, acting like a good student. "Why are you pretending to be obedient now?" The principal looked at Sima Yu and said, "Do you know that if I didn't do anything, you would have been expelled today? Harming a fellow student, you really have guts." Sima Yu grinned and said, "Didn't I know that you would come, principal? That's why I did it." "You knew?" The principal raised his eyebrows in surprise. "That's right. You've been watching from the window for so long. You definitely wouldn't watch us blow this matter up." Sima Yu said, "You knew that I was watching from here?" The principal and Feng Zhixing looked at each other. It was normal for Feng Zhixing to discover him because he had an unknown strength. But Sima Yu actually knew that he was watching. "That's right. You were already here when Master Feng and the rest arrived at the square," Sima Yu said confidently. From the beginning, she felt that someone was watching from here. Who else would be able to see from here other than the principal? As an assassin in her previous life, she was very sensitive to this kind of attention. She was the best at hiding herself and discovering others. She immediately felt the principal's undisguised gaze. "That's why you used this method to get me out?" the principal asked. Sima Yu nodded her head. "The head of teaching is determined to protect Nail and Lan. Only you can stop him. But you just stood here and watched without showing yourself. I had no other choice. Sima Yu said with a sigh. But then again, if I had been impulsive just now, or if my hand had slipped, seeing the principal's face getting darker and darker, Sima Yu's voice got softer and softer. She swallowed the last words that she wanted to say. I promised your grandfather that I would give you an explanation. I didn't think that you would catch the culprit yourself. Now I've given you justice. I don't care what you do outside the sect, but the Nailing clan is not to be trifled with. All the chapters were uploaded by netizens and reposted to Readable Chinese Network only to promote this book and let more readers enjoy it. Chapter 63. Fatty Chu and Wei Ziqi still wanted to persuade her, but seeing the determination in her eyes, they swallowed their words. Then train well, we'll go together. Wei Ziqi patted Sima Yu's shoulder and walked out. Don't worry, I'll take care of you, Fatty Chu said as he left. Sima Yue closed the door. Thinking about Fatty Chu saying that he would take care of her, she smiled. Even though she had been framed by the second-in-command of the organization in her previous life, she did not think that the whole world was a bad person. Subconsciously, she still believed in her own judgment. She could tell that Fatty Chu and Wei Ziqi truly treated her as a friend. However, what she didn't know was that because she had formed a contract with the spirit orb, her body unconsciously exuded a kind of aura, causing people who had similar souls to her to unconsciously approach her. When Sima Yulu returned to the general's residence, he told Sima Lai everything that had happened in the academy. When Sima Lai heard that the Nailing clansmen had done something to Sima Yu, he was so angry that he smashed his desk into pieces. He gritted his teeth and said, "The Nailing clansmen have been targeting our clan recently, and now they dare to do something to Yu. Looks like we haven't dealt them enough damage recently." That's right. Now that Nailing Lan has already been expelled from the sect, based on the way the Nailing clan does things, I'm afraid that they won't let Fifth Bro and our family off. Sima Yula said, "What's there to worry about? They won't let us off, but we don't want to let them off either." Sima Yuming's voice came from outside. Sima Yulu saw Sima Yuming walk in and asked, "Second brother, you're back?" I heard you talk about this the moment I came back." Sima Yuming said, "That Nailing clan might cause trouble for Fifth Bro at any time. Grandfather, since we promised the other party to take good care of Fifth Brother, we can't let him fall into such danger now." Sima Lai nodded. "Grandfather, second brother, what are you talking about?" Sima Yulu heard their conversation and looked at them in surprise. It was only then that Sima Lai and Sima Yuming remembered that Sima Yulu was still around. They recalled that he had never known Sima Yu's identity and never thought that he would forget about it in a moment of anger. Sima Yuming patted Sima Yuli's shoulder and said meaningfully, "Actually, Fifth Bro is not our biological brother." "What did you say?" Sima Yulu was shocked by this news and looked at Sima Yuming in disbelief. "It's true," Sima Yuming said. "That year when Fifth Bro came to our house, you were still very young, so it's normal that you don't remember. Fifth Bro is actually not our biological brother." Sima Yulu repeated this matter twice before raising his head to look at Sima Lai and asked, "Then who are Fifth Bro's parents?" "We also don't know who her mother is. Her father had once been a benefactor to our Sima family. At that time, after handing her over to us, he disappeared. As for his identity, we also don't know." Sima Lai said, "When the Sima family first came to this small place, they encountered danger. It was Sima Yu's father who happened to pass by and saved them. At that time, they said that they would repay him if they had the chance. Who would have thought that 10 years later, he would find him and hand Sima Yue over to him? He even instructed him not to let anyone know that Sima Yue was a girl. At that time, the Sima family only had Sima Lai's bloodline left. In order to protect Sima Yue, he told everyone that it was his son who had brought her back. Actually, at that time, his son had already been missing for many years. It had to be said that Sima Yu's parents and his real parents had gone missing. Sima Yulu was too young at that time, so he didn't remember. However, Sima Yuqi, Sima Yuming, and Sima Yuran all knew that Sima Yue was not their biological brother. However, they did not treat her as an outsider and continued to treat her as the youngest child of the Sima family and doted on her. Sima Yulu looked at his grandfather, then looked at his brother. Seeing that the two of them did not seem to be lying, he slowly digested this news. Grandfather, that person saved you and the Sima family's life. Today we cannot let anyone hurt fifth bro, Sima Yuming said resolutely. The Nalan family has always been looking for ways to weaken our family. Send the shadow guards to the surroundings of the sect. Once Yu leaves the sect, they will protect her secretly. You can't let the Nalan family hurt her. Sima Lai said, as for the sect, I believe that Feng Zhixing will not let her get hurt. That's true. What exactly is Feng Zhixing's identity? Sima Yulu asked curiously. Sima Lai shook his head. I don't know either. I've asked that old guy in the sect before, but even he doesn't know Feng Zhixing's true identity. He only knows that he should be someone from somewhere else. Furthermore, he came for Yu. For fifth bro, Feng Zhixing said, Yu carries a life jade with her. Something like a life jade is not something that just anyone can have. Usually, only big clans have it. Furthermore, it has to be placed in the ancestral hall of the clan. Yu has a life jade, but it is not placed in the ancestral hall of the clan. Instead, it was brought out by her father. This shows that her identity is not simple. However, it is not safe. Speaking of Sima Yu's life jade, Sima Yulu and his brother thought of the few months that Sima Yu had gone missing. They relied on the life jade to not go crazy. I don't think we've heard of anyone in this world who has something like a life jade. Sima Yulu said, yes, people in this world can't make one at all. Sima Lai said, they don't even have the materials to make one, let alone the strength to do so. So fifth bro's identity might not be from this world? Sima Yuming asked. That's just my guess. Sima Lai said, however, when Feng Zhixing came to see Yu's life jade, he said that he was there when Yu's life jade was made. This means that he should be from that place as well. Furthermore, he knows Yu's identity. Then will he tell her about fifth bro's identity? Sima Yuming furrowed his eyebrows. Probably not for the time being. Sima Lai said, the way I see it, it seems more like he came to see Yu's life than to tell her the truth. Hearing what Sima Lai said, Sima Yuming and Sima Yulu heaved a sigh of relief. Even if Sima Yu was not their biological brother, they had lived together for so many years and had a brotherly bond. They did not want anyone to break this bond. All right, Yulu, go back to the sect. Yu Ming and I will discuss how to deal with the Nalan clan. Sima Lai said, okay, if there's anything you need me to do, you must tell me. I'm also a member of the Sima family. Sima Yulu said seriously, your current mission is to cultivate well and look after fifth bro in the sect. Sima Yuming patted Sima Yuli's shoulder. All right, then I'll go back first. Sima Yulu shrugged his shoulders and left the study. Seeing that Sima Yulu had left, Sima Yuming turned to look at Sima Lai and asked, Grandfather, how do you plan to deal with the Nalan clan? Chapter 64. The news of the Nalan family's genius girl, Nalan Lan, being expelled from the Imperial College quickly spread throughout the capital. It was like a stone that caused 1,000 ripples. Everyone in the streets and alleys were talking about it. Nalan family. In the main hall, the Nalan family's patriarch was sitting on his seat. The two elders were sitting on one side, while the others were sitting on both sides. In the middle of the room, Nalan Lan was kneeling on the ground in a blue robe. Her head was lowered, and her long hair hung down behind her head, covering her cheeks. Nalan Shi knelt at the side and looked at the tense atmosphere in the room. He said, Father, you can't blame sister for this. It's all that Sima Yoyue's fault. If it weren't for her, sister wouldn't have been expelled. How dare you speak? Nalan, he fiercely slammed the teacup in his hand onto the table. Looking at the kneeling Nalan Lan and Nalan Shi, he scolded, You clearly know that you can't do these things in the academy, yet you still did it. Now that you've been expelled, you've lost the face of my Nalan family. Nalan Lan lowered her head, not saying a word. Patriarch, Lana didn't want things to turn out like this. I thought that it would be fine if that trash was killed, but I didn't expect her to come back alive. The great elder at the side said, Lana also wanted to strike a blow at that old fellow Seema Lai. You see, when that trash disappeared, we did indeed take the opportunity to strike at the Seema family. That's right, Patriarch. Lan's talent is extraordinary. Without the academy, how could our Nalan clan not be able to nurture the younger generation? Another elder also spoke up for Nalan Lan. But being expelled by the academy, how much shame would it bring to the family? Now, I'll punish you to go to the ancestral hall and repent for 3 months. Reflect on your actions. When Nalan he heard the 2 elders exonerate his daughter, his heart relaxed a lot. He gave Nalan Lan a punishment that was neither painful nor itchy. Nalan Lan kowtowed to the front, got up, and left. From a moment she came back to the moment she left, she had not said a single word. Everyone thought that she had been struck by this matter, but her lowered eyes were bursting with intense hatred and killing intent. She secretly thought that when she came out of the ancestral hall, she would definitely take that trash's dog life. After Nalan Lan left, the great elder waved his hand and dismissed the juniors. There was no need for them to participate in the following conversation. Patriarch, this Seema family is going to directly fall out with us this time. The second elder said, This time, the Seema family has humiliated us greatly. We must repay them well. Nalan he gritted his teeth and said, When I went to see the old ancestor yesterday, he also said that we should clean up the Seema family as soon as possible. Then let's start to close the net. The first elder and second elder nodded in agreement when they heard that this was the old ancestor's intention. For a long time, the Seema family had been suppressing their Nalan family. This time, they must take down the Seema family. As a result, the struggle between the 2 families moved from the shadows to the surface. No matter what field it was, the 2 families had a tendency to fight to the death. Seema Yua also knew a little about the struggle between the 2 families in the academy. However, she was now ordered by Seema Lai to stay in the academy and was not allowed to go back. She could only work hard to improve herself in the academy. For more than a month, Seema Yue had been practicing alchemy in the Spirit Pearl. Previously, she had almost finished refining. After practicing for a few more days, she once again set her sights on the second step of fusion. This time, Seema Yue chose the simplest first-grade pill, the blood coagulation pill, to practice. This blood coagulation pill only required 4 kinds of ingredients. Moreover, they were all relatively mild ingredients. The probability of explosion was relatively small, and the success rate was relatively high. It was a pill that ordinary alchemists would use. After letting Little Spirit prepare the ingredients, Seema Yue once again confirmed the steps of refining the pill. After making sure that she had memorized them, she then began to refine the ingredients. She was already very familiar with the step of refining the essence of the ingredients. Very quickly, all 4 ingredients were refined. After sorting out the refined medicinal herbs, he first put 2 of them into the pill furnace. After a while, he put another one in. Thinking about the previous time when the furnace exploded, Seema Yue still had some lingering fear in her heart when she put the ingredients in. She was afraid that the same thing would happen again. However, this time, the ingredients gave her face and did not explode. This made her greatly relieved. Following the instructions in the book, she controlled the size of the flame. At this time, she realized that without her own flame, refining pills was a very troublesome thing. After a few minutes, Seema Yue put the last ingredient into the pill furnace. Luckily, this time, the furnace did not explode. However, just when she thought that she had succeeded, a gurgling sound came from the pill furnace. Then, with a poochy sound, a burnt smell was emitted from the small hole on the pill furnace lid. This meant that the fusion had failed. Seema Yue extinguished the fire and opened the pill furnace lid. As expected, she saw a black lump of something inside. She could not help but sigh. Yu, don't be disappointed. This is your first time. It's normal to fail. It'll be fine once you're familiar with it. Little Roar appeared behind her and comforted her. I'm not disappointed. Sima Yue shook her head and said, I'm just thinking that refining pills is really not a simple thing. Of course. Little Spirit also appeared in the air and said, Master before Master said that the steps of refining pills are not very difficult. However, it is not without reason that tens of thousands of spirit masters are blocked outside. Every minute of refining pills, every step of control must be precise. Moreover, the requirement for mental strength is 1 in 10,000. Looks like I still need a teacher to guide me. Sima Yue touched her chin and began to think about who to choose as her teacher. However, after going through all the pill masters in her mind, she could not think of anyone suitable. They're all crooked melons and crack dates. I won't be able to learn anything from them. Thinking about how those pill masters were all arrogant, Sima Yue rejected all of them. If those pill masters knew that they were being looked down upon like this, they would be so angry that they would stomp their feet. Forget it, I'll just try it myself first. When I meet a good pill master, I'll think about becoming his disciple. After Sima Yue finished speaking, she picked up another set of ingredients and began a practice. 3 days later, she finally succeeded in refining the first batch of medicinal liquid. Now, for the last step, condensing the pill. Sima Yue let out a long sigh of relief. Then, she placed her hand in front of the pill furnace and condensed her spiritual energy, slowly injecting it into the pill furnace. Pung! Once the spiritual energy came into contact with the medicinal liquid, a violent explosion occurred. The pill furnace was blown into pieces and flew everywhere. Sima Yue was also blown away by the force of the explosion. Damn it, it exploded again. Before she fainted, she vaguely saw a fiery red figure appear beside her. There was also a pair of complicated eyes looking at her. Chapter 65. Pain. When Sima Yue slowly regained her consciousness, pain was the only thing she could feel. Yu is awake. Little Roar's voice sounded beside her ear. Looks like he's awake. Little Spirit's voice carried a hint of arrogance. But why hasn't Master opened her eyes? Exquisite's worried voice came from Sima Yue's chin. Ling Long, don't lie on Yu's stomach. Yu won't be able to wake up. Little Roar flew over and lifted Ling Long up. Ling Long moved and broke free from Little Roar's claws. Landing on Yiguang's back, she fiercely glared at Little Roar. Master should have regained consciousness. Yiguang sniffed Sima Yue and said. Exquisite looked at the transparent figure beside her and pouted. Hey, we'll just guard Master. What are you doing out here? Wah, don't tell me you've taken a fancy to Yu. Little Roar roared at Mo Sha. Let's say this first. Yu is ours. Don't fight with us. Mo Sha faintly glanced at the beasts and ignored them. His gaze then landed on Sima Yue, his gaze deep and serene. Little Roar looked at Mo Sha, then looked at Sima Yue. Why was this guy looking at Yu like that? There was a problem. Sima Yue listened to Little Roar and the others chattering nonstop in her ears. She felt as if her brain was about to explode, but she could not open her eyes. I'll deal with you guys when I wake up. Sima Yue could not help but think. Although she couldn't open her eyes, her consciousness was abnormally clear. The nerves in her body were also more sensitive, and the pain in every part of her body was magnified several times. Just when she felt that she was about to faint from the pain again, there was a sudden cracking sound somewhere in her body. Then, a cold breath came out from her lower abdomen and traveled through her limbs and bones. As the aura flowed through him, the burning pain slowly lessened until it finally disappeared. After the aura traveled a few times, it returned to his lower abdomen and quieted down. Sima Yue slowly opened her eyes. Little Roar and the others were nowhere to be seen. They probably saw that she was fine and ran off to play. Master, you're awake. Yiguang saw that Sima Yue was awake and said excitedly. Sima Yue sat up. The first person she saw was not Yiguang, but Mo Sha, who was sitting at the side. Why did this guy come out? She rubbed her forehead and said, Yiguang, how long have I been unconscious? You use consciousness. You're awake? But after regaining consciousness, you slept for another 2.5 days, so it's been 3 days. Guang replied from the other side. 3 days? She said Yue was Yues by Yu. It was at you as Yue? Yu? Only then did she notice that her hands were smooth and flawless, just like before. Yue of her, it's healed, Immerse suddenly said. Sima Yue looked at Immerse in surprise. Did he just say that the wound on her hand was healed? Surprised, Immerse looked at Sima Yue. Not only is your hand healed, the other wounds on your body are healed as well. Sima Yue touched the wounds on her body. Indeed, she could not feel them anymore. How? Sima Yue could not hide her surprise. She looked at Immerse and asked, "Did you heal me?" Immerse shook his head and said, "You did it yourself." Me? Sima Yue pointed at herself suspiciously. It was obvious that she did not believe Immerse's words. "Master, you really healed by yourself," Guang said from the side. "When you were unconscious, the wounds on your body healed bit by bit. We were all shocked at that time." It's really me? Sima Yue still felt that this matter was too unbelievable. However, Guang was an honest person and would not lie to its master. If it said that it healed by itself, then it should be true. But when did she have such an amazing self-healing ability? While she was in a daze, Immerse suddenly floated over and arrived in front of Sima Yue, giving her a big fright. "What are you doing?" She looked at the face that was suddenly enlarged. Even if it was good-looking, it was still very scary. "There's something wrong with your body." Immerse sniffed Sima Yue's body and said coldly. Sima Yue saw that Immerse was looking at her like she was his prey. She subconsciously pushed him away, but her hand passed through his body. "What's wrong with me? It's just that I have some amazing self-healing ability. You're the one with the problem." Immerse left Sima Yue and said, "Your body has been sealed." "Sealed? What seal?" Sima Yue stood up and lowered her head to look at her body. She didn't find anything wrong with it. "Have you seen anyone who was injured by an explosion and was able to recover in 2 days without taking any pills?" Immerse said. "I don't think so." Sima Yue said. "Have you had such an experience before?" Immerse asked again. Sima Yue thought about it in her memory and shook her head. In the past, this body was often injured, but every time she relied on pills to get better. She had never experienced such a situation before. "Could it be that my self-healing ability has something to do with the seal you mentioned?" Sima Yue looked at Immerse and asked. "At the moment of the explosion, I felt a familiar aura." Immerse said, "I wanted to confirm if it was it, but you were unconscious, so I couldn't do anything." "How can you confirm?" Sima Yue asked. "Also, what's with the seal you mentioned?" "You have to let me confirm before I can answer your question." Immerse said. "Tell me how to confirm it first." Sima Yue looked at Immerse in disbelief. This was a big devil. If he played any tricks, she would be sold by him and have to count the money for him. "I'll enter your body," Immerse said. Sima Yue was furious and shouted at him. "I told you, you're definitely up to no good. If I let you enter my body, what if you try to take over my body? Or what if you hurt my body? I won't let you do that." Immerse didn't expect Sima Yue to have such a big reaction and said, "I won't hurt you. TSK, I don't believe you." Sima Yue said, "I've checked the information. The books said that the Devil Clan is the most untrustworthy. You say you won't hurt me now, but what if you go back on your words after entering my body?" "Don't." Immerse looked at Sima Yue's disdainful gaze and was furious. A whirlpool formed around his body. "What are you doing? You want to kill me? This is my territory." Sima Yue shouted at Immerse. Immerse's aura slowly weakened and returned to his original state. If it wasn't for the fact that the sand on the ground was different, Sima Yue wouldn't have been able to tell that he was angry. "I can't hurt you. That's because we have a contractual relationship." Immerse slowly said these words, successfully causing Sima Yue to freeze in place. Chapter 66. Contract relationship? Immerse nodded, indicating that it was true. "Then why don't I feel that there's a contract between us?" Sima Yue asked curiously. "Because I've blocked it," Immerse said. Sima Yue sized Mo up and was secretly shocked. To be able to block the contract between them and make her feel nothing, even if she hadn't been in this world for long, she knew that it was almost impossible. But not only did he do it, but it was also under the condition of an incomplete soul. What a terrifying existence he was when he was alive. But the more powerful he is, the more things he'll know. Sima Yue guessed in her heart. If he has a contract with me, then wouldn't I have a very powerful guarantee? Who knows, I might even get more things from him. Mo saw Sima Yue's eyes darting around and knew that she was up to something, but he was too lazy to care. He closed his eyes for a while, then opened them to look at her, and said, "All right." Sima Yue felt for a while and realized that she really had a connection with Mo Sha. When did we form a contract? She still felt that it was inconceivable. The other party was a demon, and he was in a soul state. How did they form a contract? When you destroyed the Mei Soul Formation, I don't know how you formed a contract with the Spirit Stone, but I, who was inside, was naturally contracted as well. Mo Sha thought of this, and his face turned as black as a smelly drain. How is it? Can I go in to investigate now? I want to see what's going on with your seal. Speaking of the seal in her body, Sima Yue became serious. She didn't think that there would be such a strange thing in her body. She didn't know what was sealed, who sealed it, and why. Come. She nodded at Mo Sha, not knowing how he was going to enter her body. Just as she was about to ask, Mo Sha had already turned into a black light and entered between her eyebrows. The moment he entered, Sima Yue felt a bone-piercing coldness and subconsciously shivered. Why is this guy's temperature so cold? Sima Yue could not help but complain. If I don't come out now, I'll be frozen into a popsicle. After a while, before Sima Yue's body reached its limit, Mo Sha finally came out from between her eyebrows. As soon as he left, she immediately felt the chill disappear. How is it? What's going on with the seal? Sima Yue saw that Mo Sha was looking at her with a complicated gaze and asked aloud. Seeing that he did not speak, she said, "Could it be that there's a bomb sealed in my body?" It's not a bomb, but it's pretty much the same. Mo Sha had followed Sima Yue for so long, so he knew what the bomb she was talking about was. It's really a bomb. Sima Yue's expression turned sad. I was just guessing. I didn't expect that I would be right. I said it's not a bomb. Mo Sha said. All right, no matter what it is, I have to know. Sima Yue pursed her lips and said, "Tell me, what's sealed in my body?" Light demon body. Mo Sha's voice trembled when he said this, as if he was excited. Sima Yue was confused by the words he said, so she did not notice his excitement. What's a light demon body? Why'd it have to be sealed? If it wasn't sealed, I'm afraid that your body would have exploded before you were 2 or 3 years old. It's that scary? Sima Yue tried to find some exaggeration on his face, but failed in the end. Then what exactly is this thing? This world is divided into the light world and the dark world. You should know this, right? Mo Sha looked at Sima Yue. Don't you know just by looking at you and me? Sima Yue felt that Mo Sha would talk for a long time, so she simply took out a chair from her space ring and sat down to listen slowly. Mo Sha looked at Sima Yue's actions and could not help but have a face full of black lines. Why was this girl who was so worried just now suddenly looking for a chair to sit down and listen? People in the light world have a type of physique that is rarely seen in hundreds of thousands of years. This type of physique is actually an aura in the body. This aura allows the person to cultivate several times faster than a normal spirit master, and there are very few necks. Furthermore, it has a very strong self-healing ability. This type of physique is called the light body. That's amazing. Sima Yue opened her mouth wide. If I were to meet this type of physique, wouldn't that be like opening a super cheat? Correspondingly, in the dark world, people who have dark aura are called the demon body. If one could have one of these, it would be an extremely lucky thing for anyone. Mo Sha said, but you're different from them. You said that I have a light demon body. Don't tell me that I have both types of physiques. Sima Yue said. Mo Sha gave her your very smart look and continued. That's right. You have both types of aura in your body. One represents light, and the other represents darkness. These two types of aura are originally incompatible. Now that they're coexisting in one body, what do you think will happen? Especially when you were still a baby, even a little bit of impact would have taken your life. No wonder it had to be sealed. Seema Yue said. Then, she thought of something and looked straight at Emo Shah, asking, now that the seal is broken, wouldn't that mean that I'm about to die? Not at the moment, Emo Shah said, but that doesn't mean that it won't happen in the future. Seema Yue looked at Emo Shah and smiled brilliantly, saying, you definitely have a way, right? Emo Shah raised his eyebrows. How so? Since there's a contract between us, then if I die, you won't be able to live either. But you don't look worried at all. Seema Yue said confidently, besides, you immediately recognize that I have the light devil body, so you must be someone with experience. Either you are, or you've come in contact with it. Emo Shah's gaze towards Seema Yue changed quite a bit. He didn't think that this guy had some brains. This young master knows that his charm is hard to resist, but you don't have to look at me like that. Seema Yue used her hand to flick her non-existent bangs, looking very flirtatious, causing Emo Shah to roll his eyes. You haven't told me what kind of demon you are, Seema Yue said. I was once like you, Emo Shah said faintly. Although Seema Yue guessed it, hearing Emo Shah say it was still a bit shocking. Then how did you become one of the devil race? Emo Shah glanced at Seema Yue, then looked at the mountain in the distance, saying, when I was young, I was also a human. I didn't grow up in the devil race. Seema Yue looked at Emo Shah, feeling that she was emitting a thick sadness. Chapter 67. Seema Yue was shocked by Emo Shah's words. If he wasn't a member of the demon race, how did he end up like this? Then how did you become a devil? Seeing Emo Shah's appearance, she couldn't suppress the curiosity in her heart. Emo Shah was only sad for a moment, but he quickly restrained his emotions and replied, my father is from the human race, and my mother is from the devil race. Speaking of which, the blood of the devil race also flows in my body. That's why you have the light devil body. Seema Yue nodded. If his parents were both humans, then it was impossible for him to have the aura of darkness in his body. Thinking of this, her heart tightened. If that was the case, then one of her parents was also not a human. Your current situation is similar to mine in the past. Now that the seal has been broken, it is not much of a threat to you. In fact, it is a good thing. Emo Shah obviously didn't want to talk about himself anymore. He looked at Seema Yue and said, right now, the two auras are still at a stage where you can control them, so you won't explode and die. However, the light devil body's physique will allow you to cultivate a few times faster than normal people. Your talent has always been higher than ordinary people, and now it will be even more powerful. Really? Seema Yue's eyes lit up as she looked at Emo Shah. If he wasn't a spiritual body, she might have run over to hug him and give him a big kiss. Don't celebrate too early. Emo Shah looked at her and couldn't help but want to pour cold water on her. As your strength increases, the two auras of the light devil body will also strengthen. If you can't control it at that time, there will be a dangerous situation. Seema Yue wasn't that worried when she heard this. Anyway, you have a way, don't you? Since you were able to survive back then, I can too. These simple yet confident words caused Emo Shah's heart to tremble. Back then, he was also young and frivolous, filled with confidence in himself. When he found out that he had the light devil body, he believed that he could survive. In the end, he really did survive. It was just that the process was somewhat painful. Oh yeah, what's the method you were talking about? Seema Yue raised her head and asked. There's no point in telling you now, Emo Shah said indifferently. You're pretending again. Seema Yue pursed her lips, but she did not continue asking. If this guy really did not want to talk about it, he would not open his mouth. Anyway, she now believed that he wouldn't harm her. Emo Shah pretended not to hear Seema Yue's words and asked, all right, we've finished talking about your body. Let's talk about the next thing. Anything else? Alchemy, cauldron explosion, Emo Shah said indifferently. This? Seema Yue frowned. I don't know why either. The furnace keeps exploding when I'm refining pills. I'm just following the instructions in the book. I've seen you refine pills. Your technique is passable, but the problem lies in your control of temperature. Shah said, every pill has a different temperature at every stage. The slightest deviation can lead to failure. You know how to refine pills? Sima Yue raised her eyebrows. From the way he spoke, she could tell that he was not an amateur. I will, Shah admitted. What rank? You'll know in the future, Shah replied. Anyways, it's enough to teach you. Gee, Sima Yue rolled her eyes at him. This guy really liked to pretend. If you don't tell me, how would I know if you really know how to refine pills? Shah frowned and said unhappily, if you don't want to learn, then forget it. Hey, I didn't say that I don't want to learn. Sima Yue saw that Shah seemed to be at the end of his patience. She giggled and said, if you don't want to tell me, then I won't. Anyways, we're in the same boat now. If I become stronger, I'll be able to help you find your other half. I won't have to worry about you cheating me. Shah looked down, hiding the emotions in his eyes. He was willing to teach her alchemy because he had his own reasons. All right, I'll tell you the basics of alchemy now. After listening to Shah's explanation, Sima Yue had a better understanding of alchemy. It turned out that alchemy wasn't as easy as she thought. It looked like 3 simple steps, but there were thousands of ways to do it. If there was even the slightest mistake, she wouldn't be able to become an alchemist. No wonder there's so many spirit masters and so few alchemists. Sima Yue rubbed her chin. These are all based on one premise. Shah said, what prerequisites? Sima Yue asked. Strong mental strength. After Shah finished speaking, he glanced at Sima Yue. Her mental strength could be said to be the strongest among those of the same age that he had ever seen. If it was not for the fact that she had such a strong mental strength, he would not have thought of teaching her. Strong mental strength? Alchemy requires mental strength to control. Especially for higher rank pills, the process is more complicated and has a higher requirement for mental strength. The stronger your mental strength, the further you can walk on the path of alchemy. Shah explained. So that's how it is. Sima Yue placed both her hands behind her head and leaned against the back of the chair. She looked at Shah and asked, aren't you from the Devil Clan? How do you know the human clan's alchemy methods? The human and Devil Clan's alchemy methods are the same. It's just that there are some differences when it comes to condensing the pills. Shah said, the human clan's pills need to be infused with light spiritual energy. The Devil Clan's pills need to be infused with dark spiritual energy. For some similar pills, if a Devil Clan member eats a pill infused with light spiritual energy, the pill will turn into poison. On the other hand, humans can't eat pills that contain dark spiritual energy. Understood. Sima Yue nodded. Place the spirit stone on your forehead. Shah said. Sima Yue didn't know what he wanted to do, but she still did as he said. She took out the spirit stone and placed it on her forehead. The moment her forehead touched the spirit stone, a ray of light shot out from the spirit stone and entered her consciousness from between her eyebrows. This is a method to cultivate mental strength. If you practice according to the method on it, your mental strength will become stronger. Shah said. Sima Yue closed her eyes and felt it. In her consciousness, other than the Imperial Beast art, there was now a book filled with an ancient aura. Soul Training Art. Sima Yue looked at the name on the page, and her heart trembled. She opened her eyes and looked at Shah, asking, isn't it cultivating mental strength? Why is it the soul training art? The stronger the soul, the stronger the mental strength. Shah explained simply. All right, let's go to the alchemy room. You can refine the pills from before again. I will guide you from the side. Okay. Hearing Shah say this, Sima Yue put away the questions in her heart and her curiosity towards the soul training art. She brought him to the alchemy room. She could ask him those questions later. Learning alchemy was the most important thing now. Chapter 68. Sima Yue found a few more sets of ingredients to refine the blood coagulation pill. Under Shah's watchful eyes, she refined each of the ingredients. Mo Sha watched her as she refined the herbs, and his eyes shone with approval. She hadn't been in contact with alchemy for a long time, but her movements were quite proficient. It seemed that not only did she have the talent for alchemy, she also had the determination to work hard. After refining the herbs, Sima Yue looked at Mo Sha, who was beside her. Put the ingredients into the furnace in order. I will remind you of the things you need to pay attention to at every step. Mo Sha said. Sima Yue took a deep breath and placed the ingredients that she had refined into the furnace in order. When it was time to put in the second ingredient, and when it was time to control the heat, Mo Sha would always remind her when it was time to do so. With Mo Sha's guidance, half an hour later, a pill with a faint medicinal fragrance slowly formed. All right, extinguish the fire, Mo Sha said. Sima Yue extinguished the fire under the pill furnace and sighed in her heart. If she had her own flame, it would not be so troublesome to extinguish it. She opened the pill furnace and took out the pill inside. Although the shape was a bit ugly, this was the first time she had successfully refined a pill. Just thinking about it made her excited. However, Mo Sha wasn't very satisfied with her results and said, I'll refine it once. You watch carefully from the side. Oh, Sima Yue knew that Mo Sha was looking down on her results, but it didn't affect her mood. She took out a jade bottle and placed the pill inside. Then, she stood to the side to see how Mo Sha would handle it. Seeing him standing motionless in front of the herbs, she rubbed her chin and thought to herself, I wonder how this soul body can refine pills. I'll try my best to slow down. You have to watch carefully. After Mo Sha finished speaking, with a thought, a black flame appeared in his hand. He casually flung it, and the flame ran to the bottom of the alchemy furnace. He waited for the alchemy furnace to heat up, and then he put the medicinal ingredients in to be refined one by one. Sima Yue felt a terrifying heat the moment the black flame appeared, but she quickly suppressed it. If it wasn't for her sensitive soul, she wouldn't have noticed it. She wanted to ask Mo Sha what kind of flame this was, but seeing that he was only refining pills, she swallowed her questions and seriously observed his movements. Although Mo Sha had slowed down his movements, he still used less than half of her time to refine the pill. He retracted the flame and asked Sima Yue to take out the pill. Sima Yuming hurried forward and couldn't wait to open the lid. The pill lying inside was perfectly round and had a medicinal fragrance. With one look, she could tell that it was many times better than the one she refined. It looked like it was at least a first-ranked, high-rank pill. All right, you should first digest what I've told you and think about it yourself. Mo Sha returned to the spirit stone after he finished speaking. Sima Yue did not have the time to ask about his black flame. You left so quickly. Sima Yue pursed her lips and decided to ask him next time. She sat down on the stool and closed her eyes. The process of Mo Sha refining pills just now appeared in front of her eyes. A day later, Little Spirit smelled a strong medicinal fragrance. His eyes lit up and he appeared in the pill refining room. Master, you've refined it? Sima Yue kept the pill that she had just refined into a jade bottle and ignored Little Spirit's gluttonous look, saying, I've refined it. Haha, I told you that you would definitely become an alchemist. Little Spirit laughed twice and looked at Sima Yue as if he was looking at a treasure. Sima Yue threw the jade bottle into Little Spirit's hands, saying, clean it up. After that, she flashed out the spirit pearl. Little Spirit saw that the pill refining room was in a mess, and with a wave of his hand, the room returned to its original tidiness. After that, he took the jade bottle and disappeared happily. Inside the room, Sima Yue sat cross-legged on the bed. After a while, she opened her eyes and spat out a mouthful of turbid air. The tiredness from refining pills had disappeared. Yu, Fatty Chu, and the others came to look for you a few times while you were in closed-door cultivation. Little Roar saw that Sima Yue had woken up and said while lying on the table, What's the matter? Sima Yue got down from the bed. I don't know. They just walked around the door a few times. They probably thought that you were cultivating, so they didn't knock on the door. Little Roar's 4 short limbs moved vigorously and wanted to turn over, but after a few tries, he still failed. Sima Yue walked over and lowered her head to look at him. She reached out and flipped him over, saying indifferently, you should lose some weight. After saying that, she opened the door and walked out. Little Roar laid on the table and looked at Sima Yoyue's back with tears streaming down his face. He wailed in his heart, "That's because you fattened me up in the past. Now you actually despise me for being fat." Sima Yue stepped out of the room and coincidentally saw Ouyang Fei walking in from outside. A faint smell of blood floated from his body. "You're injured?" Ouyang Fei looked at her and didn't say anything as he directly returned to his room. Sima Yue rubbed her nose. This guy's aura was lower than usual today. Could it be because he was beaten up? "Yue, you're out?" Wei Ziqi came out from his room and smiled at Sima Yue. "Yeah." Sima Yue nodded. "Little Roar said that you guys came to look for me during this period of time." "Yes, regarding the mission, we originally wanted to discuss it with you. However, seeing that there was no movement in your room, we didn't want to disturb you." Wei Ziqi said. "What's wrong?" Sima Yue asked. "Because our mission this time is more difficult, we decided to set off earlier. Since classes have already stopped recently, we decided to wait for you to come out before we set off." Wei Ziqi said apologetically. It was originally a group activity, but they didn't wait for Sima Yue to come out before making the decision. So fast. Sima Yue was slightly surprised. Looking at Wei Ziqi's expression, she smiled and said, "Looks like I've delayed everyone's schedule. Since it's like this, I'll pack up and let grandfather and the rest know before we set off." "Don't rush," Wei Ziqi said. "Looking at Ouyang, we won't be able to leave in these 2 days. You can take your time to prepare." "Okay, then I'll go back first. I'll come back tomorrow," Sima Yue said. "Okay." Wei Ziqi nodded. Seeing Sima Yue close the door and leave, he suddenly thought of something and called out to her, "Oh, right, that He Qiuji was found dead in the city while you were in seclusion. The other party did it very cleanly. It should be the Nailin clan." Hearing the news of He Qiuji's death, Sima Yue wasn't surprised. She knew that the Nailin clan wouldn't let her off. She waved at Wei Ziqi and turned to leave. Those who wanted to harm her should have been prepared to die. Returning to the general's residence, Sima Yue found Sima Lai and told him that she would be leaving for a period of time for a mission. Sima Lai didn't agree at first, but under her coaxing and pestering, he reluctantly agreed. Seeing her leave, he called the housekeeper and said, "Fifth young master wants to go out. Send someone to protect him secretly." "Yes, old master." The housekeeper accepted the order and went to arrange the people. Sima Yue stayed at home for a night and returned to the academy early the next morning. After taking a few turns, she entered a small alley. "Since you're here, why are you still hiding?" Chapter 69. The people who were following Sima Yue were still wondering why she had come to the alley, but after hearing her words, they realized that she had purposely brought them here. "I didn't expect a trash like you to discover us." A man in black walked out from behind a cover and stared coldly at Sima Yue. Another person came out from the other side of the alley and blocked Sima Yue. Sima Yue looked at the person who spoke just now and said, "Nailin Shi, you want to learn how to stalk others with your dog face? Don't make fun of me. You piece of trash, you still have a sharp tongue even when you're about to die." Nailin Shi glared at Sima Yue, his eyes filled with undisguised murderous intent. "You caused my sister to be grounded for a month. Today I must avenge her. You want to kill me?" Sima Yue was very familiar with killing intent. She sneered, "Do you think you can kill me? Haha, let's not talk about the fact that you have a level 1 Soul Master bodyguard behind you. I'm a level 8 Soul Master. Do you think I can't deal with a piece of trash like you who can't even sense spiritual power?" Nailin Shi looked at Sima Yue as if he was looking at an idiot. "I didn't beat you to death last time. Today, I will definitely send you to meet the King of Hell. Seeing you jump around in front of me is really annoying." "You're right. Watching you jump around in front of me is really annoying. Since we have the same goal, let's cut the crap and attack." Sima Yue turned around and ran after saying that. "You want to run? Stop her." When Nailin Shi saw Sima Yue running away, he thought that she wanted to escape, so he asked the people on the other side of the alley to stop her. The guard was shocked when he saw Sima Yue's speed. He did not expect this trash to run from the middle of the alley to him in a few breaths. When he heard Nailan Chi's order, he started to gather his spiritual energy. Even though he was shocked, he did not forget to throw a spiritual energy ball at Sima Yue. When Sima Yue saw the spiritual energy ball coming towards her, she moved her body and ran along the wall, dodging the attack. Bang! The spiritual energy ball exploded on the ground, causing smoke and dust to fly everywhere. When the guard thought that he had succeeded, Sima Yue's figure ran out from the wall, holding a dagger in her hand. She dashed in front of him and laughed evilly. She slashed the dagger on his neck and then jumped back. When the guard saw Sima Yu smile, he felt a chill in his heart. He didn't think that before he could even react, he would feel his neck go numb. After that, he saw his own blood spurt out from his neck. Bang! His body fell backwards. Until his death, he still couldn't figure out how this rumored trash had dodged his attack, and how could he be so fast? Also, how could that dense killing intent appear on the body of a piece of trash who had been pampered since childhood? Nailan Chi came out of the smoke and waited for the dust to settle so that he could see Sima Yue's body. However, he did not expect to see Sima Yue standing in front of him unscathed. Behind her, his guards were lying lifelessly on the ground. "You're not dead," he cried out in surprise. Even if it was him, he would have been seriously injured if not dead. However, Sima Yue was not even injured. How is this possible? Sima Yue smiled evilly. "How can I die when you're not dead yet? Even if you were lucky enough to escape, you won't be so lucky now," Nailan Chi said as he began to condense the spirit Chi in his body. "Actually, I didn't plan to take your life so early. However, since you're here yourself, I can't let your efforts go to waste, right?" Sima Yue said as she began to condense the spirit Chi in her body. Nailan Chi looked at Sima Yue's things and shouted in surprise, "You're a spiritual master too?" Sima Yue smiled, but did not say anything. She would never be soft-hearted towards her enemies who had tried to kill her multiple times. Nailan family. Nailan Lan was in her own house. She was panicking as if something was about to happen. Could it be that my brother really want to find trouble with Sima Yue? Nailan Lan mumbled to herself. In the morning, Nailan Chi came to tell her that Sima Yue had returned home last night and was going to the academy today. He planned to kill her on the way there. She did not agree at first, but Nailan Chi insisted and left with his guards. After Nailan Chi left, she began to panic and was worried that something would happen. However, when she thought about it, Sima Yue was just a good-for-nothing. With Nailan Chi and his guard strength, killing her was just a matter of moving their fingers. Her heart calmed down when she thought about it this way. "Sima Yue, it's a pity that I can't end your life with my own hands. However, it's the same if you die in my brother's hands." Nailan Lan clenched her fists when she thought about being kicked out of the academy. In the small alley, Sima Yue came to Nailan Chi's side. Seeing that his face had been burned beyond recognition by her spirit Chi flames, his eyes were filled with fear and shock. She kicked him and said, "Why are you so shocked? Because I know how to cultivate? Or because you didn't think that you would be defeated so quickly?" Nailan Chi blinked his eyes, unable to say a word. He did not think that not only did Sima Yue know how to cultivate, her level was even higher than his. He did not know why, but when she used her spirit Chi, there was no indication of her level. However, he could feel that she was at least a spirit master. Seeing the murderous intent in her eyes, he suddenly regretted it. If he did not bring people to kill her today, or if he was not arrogant and brought more people, he would not have ended up like this. I have always been a person of my words. Since I said that I would take your life today, I naturally will not keep my word. Sima Yue took out the dagger that Ling Long had transformed into and said, "You are ruthless in this life, but unfortunately, your strength is not enough. Pray that you will not meet me in your next life." After saying this, she stabbed the dagger into Nailan Chi's heart and completely ended his life. In order to prevent any trouble from finding Nailan Chi's body, she kept Nailan Chi and his guards' bodies into the spirit pearl and handed it over to Little Spirit to deal with. Little Spirit saw the bodies that Sima Yue threw in and clapped his little hands. The two bodies turned into dust and dissipated into the air. After dealing with the matters here, she slowly walked out of the alley and walked towards the academy. Soon after, two figures appeared in the alley. Seeing the bloodstains on the ground, they looked at each other and could not hide the shock in their eyes. Fifth young master was actually able to kill the opponent in such a short time. It seems that his strength is not weak. I will continue to follow fifth young master. You go back and report to the general. Okay. After saying this, the two of them went their separate ways. Sima Yue arrived at the academy. Before she reached the dormitory, she met someone waiting for her on a quiet path. Chapter 70. Teacher Feng, what are you doing here? Sima Yue looked at Feng Zhixing's figure and stopped to ask. This was a small path that led to the dormitory. Usually very few people would use this path because it was still early. She did not think that Feng Zhixing would be waiting for her here. Waiting for you. Feng Zhixing looked at Sima Yue and said lightly, What's the matter? Sima Yue looked at Feng Zhixing's calm appearance and her violent heart that had just killed someone calmed down. Ouyang Fei came to find me yesterday and said that you guys will be leaving the school today. Feng Zhixing said. Sima Yue did not think that they would be leaving so soon. However, thinking that she had already delayed them for a few days, Ouyang Fei and the rest must be anxious. Yes, they said that they would be leaving early. She nodded. Your mission is the most difficult one this time. It is also very dangerous. You have to be careful. Feng Zhixing said. I will. Thank you for your concern. If there's nothing else, I will leave first. They are still waiting for me. Sima Yue scratched her face and said with a smile, Go. Feng Zhixing waved his hand. Seeing that Sima Yue had left, he muttered, There's the smell of blood. What did this girl do? Master, are you okay with letting her go with those people on this mission? A voice sounded out from nowhere. There's nothing to be worried about. If she wants to do it, then let her go. Experience is also good for increasing her strength. Feng Zhixing said as he slowly left the small path. When Sima Yue returned to the dormitory, the other four people were already prepared and waiting for her. Ziqi, didn't you say that we would wait for 2 days? Why are you in such a rush? Seeing the four people ready to go, she pulled Wei Ziqi over and asked. Wei Ziqi helplessly looked at Ouyang Fei and said, We wanted to let him rest for 2 days before going because he was injured. However, he insisted, so we did not say anything. Have you packed your things? I have everything with me. Sima Yue waved the space ring on her hand and said with a smile. Then let's go. Wei Ziqi patted Sima Yue's shoulder and said to the other three. The pressure on Ouyang Fei's body was still as low as yesterday. Hearing Wei Ziqi's words, he did not utter a single word as he walked out of the courtyard. Let's go, Bei Gongtang said faintly before walking out. Sima Yue, Fatty Chu, and Wei Ziqi looked at each other, shrugged their shoulders, and followed. All right, Ziqi, you guys still haven't told me what our mission is. Following them to the Soul Master Guild, Sima Yue realized that she had been busy cultivating and refining pills. She had completely forgotten to ask about the mission. Wei Ziqi slapped his forehead and said with some vexation, See, I forgot to tell you about our mission. Our mission this time is to collect some medicinal herbs. Medicinal herbs? Sima Yue was astonished. If they needed medicinal herbs, they could just go to the pharmacy to buy them. Why do they have to go and look for them? Actually, looking for medicinal herbs is just a superficial mission. Fatty Chu said, The Academy wants to use this opportunity to train themselves because the medicinal herbs we are looking for can only be found in the Pu Luo mountain range. There are many magical beasts there, and if we encounter some, we can increase our practical experience. Hearing about the Pu Luo mountain range, Sima Yue was a little emotional. It seemed that she had only been back for a few months, and now she had to go there again. Let's go. We need to use the teleportation array to go to a city near the Pu Luo mountain range. When it was their turn, Wei Ziqi paid the fee for the 5 of them and told the maid the name of the city. Yin City, 5 people. The maid said as she handed 5 plates to Wei Ziqi. Wei Ziqi took the plates and distributed them to everyone. Sima Yue looked at the plates in her hands and thought that there was no need to fill in the form. It was probably because there were too many people here and filling in the form was too troublesome. This Yin City was decided by me and Ouyang. Wei Ziqi explained to Sima Yue as he walked. We've asked around and found that there are fewer spirit beasts in the northern part of the Pu Luo mountain range. This time we're going to north, and Yin City is the biggest city in the northern part. Arriving at the house where the teleportation array was, Bei Gongtang and the others handed the plates to the people at the side. After that, they stood in the teleportation array and looked at Sima Yue and the other two. Thinking about how she had fallen flat on her face the last time she had used the teleportation array, Sima Yue's eyes flashed when she saw the teleportation array again. Once the 5 of them had gone up, the teleportation array began to activate, and they quickly disappeared from the house. Not long after they had left, another 2 groups of people arrived at the Spirit Master Guild. Looking at their clothes, they were also students from the Imperial Academy. Yin City. One of them handed the plate over and said these 2 words to the person in charge before standing in the teleportation array. Boss, do you think they will really go from Yin City to the Pu Luo mountain range? The second person who had arrived at the teleportation array asked. The person who had been addressed as boss glanced at that person but did not say anything. That person shrugged his shoulders and stood to one side. In the evening, Sima Yue and the others appeared at the Spirit Master Guild in Yin City. Let's first find an inn to rest for the night. At the same time, we can also find out about the situation at the Pu Luo mountain range. How about it? Wei Ziqi asked. All right. Fatty Chu was the first to agree. After staying in the teleportation array for so long, his back was aching. I have no objections. Sima Yue replied. Bei Gongtang and Ouyang Fei also nodded their heads. The sky was about to turn dark, and rashly going to the Pu Luo mountain range at this time was also a relatively dangerous thing to do. Thus, the 5 of them conveniently asked for the location of the nearest inn when they left the Spirit Master Guild. They went to book 5 rooms and ate dinner before going back to rest. Not long after they had checked into the inn, a few other people also checked in. Sima Yue returned to the house and sprawled on the bed. During dinner, she saw that the other 4 people all had grave expressions on their faces. She knew that they were nervous about entering the mountain the next day. However, to her who had stayed in the Pu Luo mountain range for so long, there was nothing to be nervous about. Thus, after a simple wash-up, she hugged her blanket and fell asleep. The next morning, the few of them gathered downstairs to eat breakfast. Last night, I already asked the shop owner about the situation at the Pu Luo mountain range. Wei Ziqi ate his breakfast and said to the other 4, the Pu Luo mountain range is divided into the outer, middle, and inner regions. Sima Yue already knew everything that Wei Ziqi said. However, after hearing him speak in such detail, she sighed in admiration at his ability to gather information. As long as we don't go to the middle or inner regions, there won't be too much danger. Wei Ziqi concluded. But if the medicinal ingredients that we need to gather are not in the outer regions, we can only take the risk and go to the middle regions to take a look. Fatty Chu said. The middle regions are too dangerous. If we can avoid it, we should try our best not to go. Wei Ziqi said, let's go. This is the first time I've come to the Pu Luo mountain range. I can't wait to see what it looks like. Chapter 71. A group of people went out of the city gate and directly advanced towards the Pu Luo mountain range. Along the way, they saw many other people who were also rushing in the same direction as them. Why are there so many people going? Fatty Chu couldn't help but ask as he looked at the people coming and going. Some of these people are just like us, but most of them are mercenaries from different places. Sima Yue had seen some mercenaries before, and she could tell from their clothes. Mercenaries would come to a place like this. Fatty Chu looked at these people. Many of them had fiendish looks, as if they were people who lived on the edge of a knife. That's right, some mercenaries will take on a few missions. For example, if they need some medicinal ingredients, or a spirit beast magic crystal, or some other materials, they will need to go into the mountains. Wei Ziqi explained. So, they also enter the mountain? I thought that since the Pu Luo mountain range is so dangerous, No one would go there. Fatty Chu said, "This is far from what you imagined, isn't it?" Sima Yue patted Fatty Chu's shoulder. Both of them grew up in the capital city. If she had not stayed here for a period of time, she would have been clueless like Fatty Chu. The group of people had been rushing for half a day, but just as they reached the Pu Luo mountain range, Fatty Chu shouted that he could no longer walk. Sima Yue looked around. Other than her, Fatty Chu and Wei Ziqi were panting. Ouyang Fei and Bei Gong Tang were also exhausted. She looked at the surroundings and said, "It's getting late now. Why don't we find a place to set up camp and rest for the night? We'll enter the mountain tomorrow." Hearing Sima Yue's words, Fatty Chu sat down on the floor and looked at Sima Yue's relaxed face, saying, "Yue, we're all so tired. Why aren't you tired at all? I usually train my body. This kind of physical exhaustion is useless to me." Sima Yue shrugged and said, "You guys can rest here. I'll go and see if there's a spacious place nearby." After she finished speaking, she left, leaving the four of them to rest. After a while, Sima Yue came back after taking a stroll. Seeing that Fatty Chu and the rest had already rested, she said, "I just found a suitable place to set up camp. Shall we go over?" "All right." Sima Yue brought the others to the place she had her eyes on. Unexpectedly, someone had already set up camp there. It was a mercenary group that was setting up camp. Seeing Sima Yue and the rest coming over, a young man in his 20s or 30s smiled at them and said, "You guys have your eyes on this place too? This place is bigger, so we'll all gather here. If you don't mind, you can camp on the other side." Sima Yue looked at the others and asked for their opinion. "Just make do with it," Ouyang Fei said. "It's just for one night anyway." Bei Gong Tang didn't say anything. She immediately took out her own tent and prepared to set up camp. "Ouyang is right. Anyway, it's just for one night. Just put up with it," Wei Ziqi said. Seeing that everyone agreed, Sima Yue and Fatty Chu took out their own tents and set them up according to the shop owner's instructions. After he was done, he took out a large bed from his spatial ring and placed it in the middle of the tent. "Damn, you even brought such a large bed when you went out." Fatty Chu, who had just finished packing his things, was stunned when he saw her large bed. Sima Yue was shocked by Fatty Chu's reaction. She glared at him and said, "What's there to be surprised about? Aren't you guys the same?" Fatty Chu pursed his lips and said, "Where would we have such a large space to put such a large bed?" Sima Yue didn't understand. Could it be that their spatial rings were very small? Our spatial rings are only as big as a house. If we put such a large bed in, we wouldn't need to bring anything else. Fatty Chu looked at Sima Yue with resentment. The general's young master was so good. His spatial ring was definitely a few times bigger than his own. "Aren't these spatial rings the same size?" Sima Yue asked. Fatty Chu rolled his eyes at Sima Yue and said, "How can spatial rings be the same size? A normal spatial ring is only 1 or 2 cubic meters in size. Mine is the size of a house. It's already considered very good." Hearing Fatty Chu's words, Sima Yue touched the spatial ring on her hand. Sima Lai had given it to her after she was able to cultivate. He said that her father had left it for her, and she had been using it ever since. Looking at the spatial ring that was as big as a luxurious villa, she didn't dare to imagine what rank her father had left behind. "All right, stop complaining," Sima Yue said. "When there's a chance in the future, I'll get you a big one. Let's go see how Ouyang and the others are doing." When they went out, Wei Ziqi, Bei Gongtang, and Ouyang Fei were already sitting in the middle of the campsite and chatting. The place they chose was filled with tall trees. The branches and leaves on the top were dense, but there were very few tree trunks on the bottom. It looked more spacious. Those mercenaries had also tidied up their campsite and were eating dinner in 2s and 3s. "Yue, you done tidying up?" Wei Ziqi waved at Sima Yue. Sima Yue sized up those mercenaries. The youth who had spoken before felt her gaze and turned his head to smile at her before turning back to talk to his teammates. Sima Yue and the others chatted for a while before the youth stood up and walked over. Facing the 5 of them, he cupped his hands and said, "I am Qing Wuya from the Green Mountain Mercenary Group. Is this your first time coming to Pu Luo Mountain Range?" "Yes." Does young Master Qing have any business with us? Wei Ziqi returned the greeting. Looks like I guessed correctly. Qing Wuya said with a smile, I just saw that you guys had set up camp for so long and had yet to eat dinner. I wanted to remind you that because there are more trees in the mountains, the sky gets dark earlier. So you guys can eat dinner earlier to avoid getting dark at night. Many thanks for young Master Qing's reminder, Wei Ziqi said with a smile. You're welcome. We mercenaries don't have the habit of being polite. If you don't mind, you can call me Big Brother Qing. What, young Master Qing? I'm not used to it. Qing Wuya scratched the back of his head. Hee, Big Brother Qing. If Big Brother Qing has the time, why don't we sit down and chat? Wei Ziqi said as he took out a chair from his spatial ring. Qing Wuya recognized that Wei Ziqi's spatial ring was not simple. It was definitely not something that an ordinary person could afford. Seeing that he had taken out a chair, he smiled and said, Sure. Big Brother Qing, do you guys come to Pu Luo Mountain Range often? Wei Ziqi asked. That's right. Pu Luo Mountain Range can be said to be the place that we mercenaries come to the most. Young Master Qing replied. Then you guys should be more familiar with this place? Then can you tell us more about the situation here? Wei Ziqi asked with a smile. Sima Yue looked at Wei Ziqi. This guy was handsome and had a warm smile. He also knew how to talk, giving people a kind of cultured and refined feeling. It made people unconsciously feel close to him. This kind of closeness was different from the closeness that came from her own spirit pearl. It was more of a personal charm. Chapter 72. Qing Wuya nodded his head and said, That's fine. There are some places in the Pu Luo mountain range that are relatively dangerous. Telling you will save you the trouble of rushing in. /////. You guys continue chatting. I'll go and cook, Sima Yue said as she got up from the stool. What Qing Wuya said was right. The sky did indeed get dark earlier in the mountains, so dinner had to be eaten earlier. Everyone knew that she had a picky taste. As long as she had time, she would not eat dry food. Therefore, everyone was lucky to follow her. She came to an open space and took out all the cooking utensils, pots, bowls, ladles, and basins. The Green Mountain mercenaries were stunned. TSK, looks like he's from a big family. He even brought these things when he went out. A mercenary sighed as he looked at the Sima Yue guy. Of course, you can tell from the way they're dressed that they're not ordinary people. How big is this spatial ring? All right, stop being envious. Let's drink. Sima Yue didn't care about the envy she had caused. She took out some dishes from her soul pearl and started to cook dinner. Qing Wuya was also shocked by Sima Yue's actions. This was the first time he met someone who even brought along a cooking utensil. Big Brother Qing, don't be so surprised. She's rather picky about what she eats and doesn't like to eat dry rations. Wei Ziqi said, Just now you said that there have been a lot of people coming to Pu Luo Mountain Range recently. Qing Wuya shifted his gaze away from Sima Yue's chef and nodded. That's right, this is something I discovered recently. Our Green Mountain Mercenary Group can be considered as one of the top mercenary groups in Yin City. We often go in and out of this Pu Luo mountain range. As long as there is even the slightest abnormality here, we will be able to see it. Although Pu Luo mountain range has always had a lot of people, but in the last half month, the number of people coming here has increased by a lot. Moreover, many of them are from big clans. Oh, why are there suddenly so many people? Fatty Chu asked curiously. At first, we didn't know either. Later, we accidentally heard some people say that some treasure seemed to have appeared or some rare medicinal herb had matured. We don't know what it is exactly. Qing Wuya shrugged and said, Because it doesn't have much to do with us, we didn't pay much attention to it. Big Brother Qing is not interested in that thing? Wei Ziqi asked. It's not a matter of interest, but that thing is said to be either in the inner circle or somewhere close to the inner circle. That's not a place we dare to go. That's why we should listen to it. Qing Wuya said, Brother Wei, don't be fooled by the name of that treasure. Although the treasure is good, you still need to be alive to enjoy it. We understand this logic. Wei Ziqi laughed. The inner region was the place where the saint beasts lived. Although the few of them were quite strong compared to their peers, they were not considered experts in the outside world. They did not have the guts to fight with the Saint Beasts. Sima Yue was cooking while listening to Qing Wuya's advice on what to pay attention to. When she heard him say treasure, her hands paused. Treasures, she loved them the most. If she had the chance, she would go and see them alone. Soon, a table full of dishes was prepared. The aroma wafted through the forest, attracting the attention of many people. Brother Sima's cooking is really fragrant. Qing Wuya smelled the aroma and could not help but praise. Ah, thank you, Big Brother Qing, for telling us about the Pu Luo mountain range. Since everyone is chatting so well, why don't we have a drink together? Wei Ziqi said. This isn't too good, right? Qing Wuya was a little embarrassed. There's a lot of food. Big Brother Qing, let's eat together. Sima Yue said with a smile. This Qing Wuya was not bad, and the things he had just said were very useful to them. Inviting him to eat and drink together was not a big deal. Let's go, Big Brother Qing. Yu's cooking is very good. If we wanted to eat outside, we wouldn't be able to. Let's go and have a few drinks. Wei Ziqi said. Since you've said so, then Wuya will disturb you. Qing Wuya smiled and cupped his hands. His impression of Wei Ziqi and the others was not bad. Although he could see that their identities were not ordinary, they did not have the arrogance of those big families. Sima Yue's cooking was naturally good for everyone to eat and drink. After eating, Qing Wuya was still lamenting that this was the best thing he had ever eaten. After dinner, the sky was about to turn dark. Qing Wuya also returned to his own mercenary group. Sima Yue and Bei Gongtang cleaned up the bowls and chopsticks, bringing them to a nearby stream to wash. We'll be entering the mountain tomorrow. Everyone should rest early. I'll keep watch tonight. When they returned, Ouyang Fei said, No need. You should go and sleep too. Leave a night watch to Little Roar. Sima Yue looked at Little Roar, who was hugging a chicken drumstick and munching on it with relish. Ouyang Fei glanced at Little Roar and knew how powerful he was. He did not fight to keep watch and nodded to everyone before returning to his own tent. Good night, everyone, Wei Ziqi said as he also returned. Good night. Sima Yue returned to her own tent and sat cross-legged on the bed. Little Roar hugged a chicken drumstick and flew in. Little Roar, be careful tonight. No problem. Don't worry and sleep. Little Roar took a bite of the drumstick and said. Sima Yue nodded, but did not sleep. Instead, she closed her eyes and transferred all her mental energy into her sea of consciousness. There, the Imperial Beast art and art of training soul quietly floated in midair. Her mental energy transformed into a miniature human and flew in front of the Imperial Beast art, reaching out her hand to pick it up. The Imperial Beast art did not have many words. It mainly talked about how to tame spirit beasts and how to form a contract. Looking at it, Sima Yue knew that the different forms of contracts had different results. Contracts were generally divided into life contracts, soul contracts, and master and servant contracts. Life contracts, as the name suggests, involved both parties in life and death. If one party died, the other party would also die. This was the most common form of contract. Sima Yue and that unknown Dan Dan had a life contract. A soul contract was a form of contract between two souls. This type of contract, even if the person died, as long as the soul was still there, the spirit beast would not die. Just like the contract between Little Roar and her. In a master and servant contract, the person was the master and the spirit beast was the servant. This type of contract, even if the spirit beast died, the master would not die. At most, the master would lose some strength. This type of contract was the most unacceptable for spirit beasts. Normally, a life contract and a soul contract could only form one. That was why when the egg felt Sima Yue and Little Roar's soul contract, it chose the life contract. Now, people only knew about life contracts and master and servant contracts. Very few people knew about the soul contract. In addition, contracts were closely related to a person's mental energy. The stronger the mental energy, the more spirit beasts one could form contracts with. Normal spirit masters could only form a contract with one spirit beast. Those who were stronger could form a contract with a second spirit beast. For Sima Yue to be able to form a contract with 3 spirit beasts, with her current strength, She was already a pervert among perverts. This book came from Chapter 73. After she finished reading The Art of Taming Beast, she realized that the method wasn't difficult at all. She didn't know how it had been lost. At the end of the book, it said that the level of the tamed spirit beast was also linked to the spiritual force required. The higher the level of the spirit beast, the stronger the spiritual force required. This was similar to alchemy. Sigh, looks like I still have to improve my mental strength first. Seema U.S. sighed. Previously, she only thought that cultivating spiritual power was important. She did not expect that the cultivation of the soul and spiritual power were equally important. She put down The Art of Taming Beast and walked to the front of The Art of Refining Soul. She took down the book, and the silver light on the book disappeared, allowing her to see the book in its entirety. She gently flipped to the first page, and a sentence on it made her heart tremble violently. The highest level of soul refining allows one's soul to exist outside one's body. Seema Yum muttered these words and thought of Mo. Shahna's transparent and illusory soul. Is it because he cultivated this that his soul is able to exist in this world? Looks like this soul refining art is really something. As he continued to read, he found that some of the levels of soul refinement were mentioned. The beginning was the small success stage, followed by the deity transformation stage, followed by the void refinement stage, and finally the Mahayana stage. The strength of the soul was expressed through the spiritual power. When one's mental power reached a certain range, they would be able to sense things within a kilometer around them. In the divinity transformation stage, one's spiritual energy could be condensed into a concrete shape outside of his body. At the void refinement realm, the second form of the mental power was condensed. At the Mahayana realm, one's soul would be able to transcend. Every stage had a huge gap between them, and every time they crossed a level, there would be huge gains. Seema Yua took a look at it. At the beginning, it was relatively simple. There were only a few chances to cultivate the soul, and then there were some methods to increase one's mental strength. It seems that soul refining and spiritual energy are closely related, and both are indispensable. No wonder Mo. Shah said that after refining my soul, my mental strength would also increase. Sighing, she exited her sea of consciousness and began to practice according to the chants in the book. Time flew by when one was cultivating. When Seema Yue was awakened from her cultivation state by Little Roar, the sky was already bright. He didn't expect that he had unknowingly cultivated for an entire night. Moreover, he felt refreshed and didn't feel the slightest bit tired from not sleeping for an entire night. Looks like I can practice this if I have nothing to do at night. She got down from the bed, tidied her clothes, and put away the things in the tent into her spatial ring. Then she put away the tent as well. Brother Seema, you're up too. Qing Wei saw that Seema Yue had finished packing and greeted him with a smile. Morning, big brother Qing. Seema Yue smiled and nodded at him, then went to the stream to wash up. When she came back, she took out the pots and pans to make breakfast. When she was making breakfast, Bei Gongtang and the others also woke up one after another. They packed their own things and waited for breakfast. Brother Wei, we're going to enter the mountains. Remember what I told you last night. Don't go to any dangerous places. Qing Wuyi said to Wei Ziqi after they had finished packing up. Big brother Qing wants to enter the mountains so early. Wei Ziqi said as he looked at the mercenary group that was already fully equipped. Our mission this time is rather important, but time is rather tight, so we have to go in earlier. Qing Wuyi replied. If that's the case, then I hope Big Brother Qing can complete the mission as soon as possible. Wei Ziqi said. Thank you, Brother Wei. See you next time. See you next time. Qing Wuyi cupped his hands towards Sima Yue and the others, then returned to his own group and said, Let's go. Fatty Chu watched Qing Wuyi and the others leave and said, This Green Mountain mercenary group is not bad. They're all right. They're much better than the ones we met before. Let's eat. Sima Yue placed the food on the table and called out to everyone. Unlike the Green Mountain mercenary group who were in a rush, Sima Yue and the others ate breakfast before heading into the mountains. This time, They had to collect a few types of medicinal ingredients, and each person had a hand over a spirit beast corpse. The mission was very important. With Sima Yue around, the task of finding medicinal ingredients became much easier. Because she was familiar with the attributes of the medicinal ingredients and knew what kind of environment they grew in, the scope of the search was much smaller. A day later, they found their first medicinal ingredient. Yue, I didn't think that you would be so familiar with medicinal ingredients. Wei Ziqi looked at the medicinal ingredients lying in the box and sighed. That's right, Yue. How come we didn't know that you were so familiar with medicinal ingredients? Fatty Chu said. It's not like you're with me 24/7. How would you know everything that I know? Sima Yue glanced at Fatty Chu and did not answer their question directly. Right now, we found the Earth's core grass, as well as the flame grass and the other 4 medicinal ingredients. Ouyang Fei said, I know about the flame grass. It grows in places that face the sun. However, the flame grass will always be guarded by stronger spirit beasts. Bei Gong Tang furrowed her eyebrows and said, I suggest that we look for the flame grass last. Let's look for the other medicinal ingredients first. Wei Ziqi said, Agreed. Sima Yue nodded. The spirit beasts around Pu Luo mountain range are not high-ranked. If we meet them, we can also practice. Good. Then let's continue looking. Wei Ziqi said. They left the valley, and not long after, another group of people arrived at the place they were at. Boss, that group of people doesn't have any pattern at all. We can't set a trap. One of them said, even if there's no way, we still have to think of a way. The black-clothed man said, she caused Nalan Lan to be expelled from the academy. I definitely have to take revenge for her. Boss, we can't just directly act against them. What should we do? Another person asked. The black-clothed man was silent for a while before saying, didn't they say that they wanted to look for spirit beasts to practice? We'll find them a target to practice on. If they're killed by the spirit beasts in a mountain range, the academy won't blame us. But boss, I heard that those people's ranks are relatively high. Other than that trash Sima Yue, the others are not worse than us. How can we make them be killed by the spirit beasts? I have my ways. Do you know where there are spirit beasts that live in groups? The black-clothed man said. Boss, I know. I've heard a mercenary mention it before. That's good. Let's go. We'll find them a spirit beast to practice on. Sima Yue's group of 5 searched the mountain for an entire day. They didn't find anything, but in the process of searching, they met a 6th-level spirit beast. They worked together and quickly killed it, allowing Sima Yue to keep it. As for why she was the one to keep it, it was because her spatial ring was the largest. Just as they were resting, Sima Yue suddenly felt a sense of danger and subconsciously stood up. Yue, what's wrong? Fatty Chu looked at Sima Yue's nervous expression and asked. There's movement, Sima Yue said. Before the others could speak, they heard a flurry of footsteps. Following that, a pack of flame wolves appeared in everyone's line of sight and quickly ran towards them. So many spirit beasts. Fatty Chu saw so many flame wolves and couldn't help but swallow his saliva. Chapter 74. Not only Fatty Chu, Bei Gong Tang, and the others were also stunned by the horde of beasts. Help! As the beasts got closer, Sima Yue and the rest saw a figure running in front of the beasts. Awoo! The wolf pack's wild howls made the man shudder. However, when he saw Sima Yue and the rest, he gritted his teeth and ran towards them. Sima Yue saw that person running towards them and immediately reacted. She shouted and ran, pulling Bei Gong Tang, who was beside her, and ran toward the back. Hearing her shout, Wei Ziqi and the rest finally reacted. They didn't even have the time to pack their things before running away. Help! Friends in front, help! That person shouted when he saw Sima Yue and the rest running away. Save your sister. Sima Yue scolded as she pulled Bei Gong Tang to speed up. However, the 5 of them had limited leg strength, so how could they outrun the flame wolf? Seeing the spirit beast getting closer and closer, as well as the black-clothed man, Fatty Chu cursed. F***, how can this guy run so fast? Soon, The man who was being chased by the firewolves caught up with them. Seeing the wolf cub at his arms, Sima Uf finally understood why he was being chased all over the mountain by the firewolves. Mother asterisk her, why are you hugging the wolf pup? Get back to him. That person seemed to have regained his senses after hearing Sima U's words. He lowered his head and looked at the wolf cub at his arms. He threw the wolf cub into Fatty Chu's arms and ran off in another direction. F***, are you trying to kill me? Fatty Chu subconsciously caught the wolf cub. By the time he understood what was going on, that person had already disappeared. Sima Yu watched as that person quickly ran out of their line of sight, and her eyes flashed with suspicion. Fatty Chu, why are you still hugging the wolf pup? Quickly throw it away. Wei Ziqi shouted. Fatty Chu hurriedly threw the wolf cubs away, but other than one or two who ran to the wolf cubs, the rest continued to chase after them. We can't run anymore. Looks like we can only fight them head-on. Ouyang Fei saw that the wolves were still chasing after him. He took out his weapon and turned around to kill the wolves. The others also understood that the pack of wolves had set their sights on them. No matter how long they ran, they would not give up. Moreover, they had been running for so long that their physical strength was somewhat exhausted. When their last bit of strength was exhausted, it would be easy for the wolf pack to kill them. Sima Yue wasn't too worried about the wolves behind her. Little Roar and Yaguang could easily intimidate them, but she didn't plan to do so. If he had gotten used to relying on his contracted beast from the very beginning, it would have been impossible for him to become stronger in the future. Let's go all out. Wei Ziqi also stopped in his tracks and called out his contracted spirit beast to battle with the flame wolf. I'm not running anymore, damn it. Fatty Chu also called out his own spirit beast, took out his axe, and chopped towards the flame wolf. Bei Gong Tang didn't call out her own spirit beast, only stopping in her tracks. She condensed a spirit ball in her hands and threw it towards the flame wolf. Sima Yue took a look. Ouyang Fei's spirit beast was a 9th-level low spirit beast, Cloud Leopard. It looked like it was about to become a holy beast. Fatty Chu's spirit beast was a 7th-level low spirit beast, Charm Fox. That fox's figure was much smaller than the flame wolf, but its battle prowess wasn't weak at all. Although Wei Ziqi's spirit beast's rank wasn't as high as Ouyang Fei's, it was still a rare fire lizard. With a sweep of its tail, a flame wolf was sent flying. Sima Yu took out the dagger that Ling Long had transformed into and leapt in front of a flame wolf. Just as it was about to pounce on her, Sima Yu quickly stabbed the dagger in between its eyebrows and pulled it out before it could even react. Ouyang Fei and the others didn't think that Sima Yu would be able to kill a wolf so quickly and looked at her in shock. The space between the eyebrows and 3 inches below the neck are the weakest parts of the flame wolf. Attacking these 2 places is the most effective. Sima Yu said, How did you know? Although the timing wasn't right, Fatty Chu still asked. Teacher talked about it in class. Sima Yu said. Everyone then came to a realization. It seemed that when the teacher was talking about the spirit beasts in the Pu Luo mountain range, he had indeed talked about it. However, everyone didn't really pay attention. If it wasn't for her reminder, they wouldn't have remembered that there was such a lesson. This speed needs to be fast. Otherwise, we will be injured by the pack of wolves. Ouyang Fei said. Ouyang Fei and Bei Gong are stronger in close combat. The 3 of us will be in charge of close combat. Ziqi and Fatty Chu. The 2 of you will mainly use your spiritual energy to attack. Sima Yu said, We are now a team. If we want to charge out alive, we need to work hard together. Everyone looked at the pack of wolves surrounding them and nodded their heads, acknowledging Sima Yu's words. Ziqi, Fatty Chu, we will be on the outside. You guys will be in the middle. Try to condense your spiritual energy as quickly as possible. If one of us is attacked, the 2 of you will be in danger. Ouyang Fei warned. You guys can relax. Fatty Chu promised. Sima Yu looked at Fatty Chu and Wei Ziqi and said seriously, In the past, I rarely trusted my back to others because it was a very dangerous thing to do. Today, the 3 of us will entrust our backs to you guys. You guys have to guard it for us. When Wei Ziqi and the other three heard Sima Yoyue's words, their hearts couldn't help but tremble. What she said was right. In the past, they were all lone wolves. Even in their own families, they didn't trust anyone to entrust their backs to. However, today, they had exposed their backs in front of them because they had no choice and because they trusted them. Yue, you guys can relax. We are a team. We will always be partners that you can entrust your backs to, Wei Ziqi said emotionally. Yes, we will always be partners that you can entrust your backs to, Fatty Chu said with certainty. Sima Yue smiled faintly and said, That's good. Let's start the battle. Bei Gongtang and Ouyang Fei looked at each other and saw the thick fighting spirit in each other's eyes, as well as the camaraderie that was born in this difficult situation. Charge! Ouyang Fei was still the first to rush to the front of the wolf pack. Sima Yue and Bei Gongtang also followed closely behind. The three of them and the three spirit beasts unknowingly formed an encirclement, surrounding Fatty Chu and Wei Ziqi in the middle, giving them enough time to condense their spirit chi. As for Fatty Chu and Wei Ziqi, they condensed spirit balls. Seeing who was in danger or who was having a hard time fighting, they threw the spirit balls in that direction. Sometimes they would directly throw their spirit chi balls into the wolf pack's ranks, causing them to howl in pain. Half an hour later, because there were too many casualties, the leader of the flame wolves unwillingly led his subordinates and ran away with their tails between their legs. Once the wolf pack left, everyone collapsed to the ground. Their bodies were covered in wounds that were still bleeding. The battle just now had already exhausted their strength. Fatty Chu and Wei Ziqi also chose to directly fight the wolf pack after their spirit chi was exhausted. Sima Yue took out a medicine bottle and ate a pill before passing the jade bottle to Bei Gongtang. Bei Gongtang poured out 4 pills for everyone to eat. We have to leave this place now. The commotion just now and the smell of blood might attract other spirit beasts. Seeing that everyone was exhausted, Sima Yue went up and kept all the corpses of the flame wolves into her spatial ring. Chapter 75. Just as Sima Yue and the rest were fighting with the wolf pack, the man who attracted the wolf pack quickly ran across the mountain and ran towards another mountain. He soon met up with his teammates. Huangxi, how is it? The person who had been waiting at the original spot saw that his teammate had returned and asked. When I ran, the wolves had already surrounded Sima Yue and the rest. Huangxi removed a piece of paper with strange runes drawn on it from his body and handed it over to the black-clothed man, saying, Boss, what is this? After I put on, my speed increased a lot. It's as if these legs don't belong to me. Don't ask what it is. The black-clothed man took back the talisman and said, Have those wolves really surrounded them? It's really boss. Huangxi guaranteed. There are 30 to 40 flame wolves. Even if their strength is not weak, it is impossible for them to fight against so many flame wolves. That's good, the black-clothed man said. Humph. Even though they won't be able to live, it's still a great pity that I can't personally end that trash's life. Boss, should we go take a look at how they died? Huangxi asked. Not going. The boss shook his head and said, If we encounter a pack of wolves, we will be in trouble. Moreover, the smell of blood can easily attract nearby spirit beasts. Since we know that they won't be able to survive, there's no need for us to put ourselves in danger. Boss is right. We have our own mission here. Now that we've taken care of Sima Yue, it's time for us to complete our mission. Let's go. After the black-clothed boss finished speaking, he led his team members towards another mountain. On the other side, Ouyang Fei and the others kept their contracted beasts back into the contract space and helped each other out of the forest. After walking for a while, they arrived at a river. Seeing the empty space beside the river, Sima Yue said, This place is far enough from the battlefield. Let's clean our wounds here. All right. Wei Ziqi helped Fatty Chu sit down on a large rock by the riverside, and he himself also sat down by the side. Although they had taken the pills given by Sima Yue, the effect of the level 1 healing pills was slow and not very effective. It was impossible for their wounds to heal in a short time. Ouyang Fei came to the riverside and took off his shirt to wash the wounds on his upper body. Sima Yue glanced at him and realized that there were many scars on his body. Sima Yue took out a basin and went to the riverside to fill it with water. She came to Fatty Chu's side and reached out to take off his clothes. "Ah, Yue, what are you doing?" When Fatty Chu saw Sima Yue taking off his clothes, he subconsciously screamed and covered his chest with his hands. Sima Yue was speechless. Why was this guy overreacting? If you feel that pulling at your wound doesn't hurt, I don't mind you continuing to hug me like this. As she spoke, she glanced at the wound on Fatty Chu's body. After hearing her words, Fatty Chu finally remembered the injuries on his body. Just now, when he moved, his wounds hurt even more, and he couldn't help but cry out. Sima Yue pulled his hand down and cut his clothes with a pair of scissors, revealing the wounds on his shoulders and back. Of course, that pair of scissors was unwillingly transformed by Ling Long. She really couldn't understand why her master would make her transform into such weird and useless weapons. For convenience, Sima Yue cut off all of Fatty Chu's clothes and took out a piece of cotton cloth. She dipped it in the basin of water and washed the blood off the wounds. After that, she took out a bottle of medicinal powder and sprinkled it evenly on his wounds. Finally, she used a strip of cloth to bandage his wounds. Wei Ziqi came back from the riverside after washing the blood off his body. Seeing Sima Yue's skillful movements, he teased, "I didn't think that Yue would be so skillful at bandaging wounds. I used to get injured often." Sima Yue replied. She was referring to her past life when she was an assassin. However, Fatty Chu and the rest understood that she used to be beaten up by the people around Murong, and Yue, don't worry. In the future, if anyone dares to beat you up, I, Fatty Chu, will be the first to stop them. Fatty Chu looked at the strip of cloth on his arm and said. Sima Yue smiled and went behind him. She sprinkled the medicinal powder on his back and carefully bandaged it. "It's done." Sima Yue finished tying the knot and said, "This medicinal powder is very useful for treating wounds. When used together with pills, the effect is even better. Ouyang, you guys have wounds on your bodies too. I'll bandage them for you too. I'll do it myself." Ouyang Fei wasn't used to others touching his body, so he took the bottle of medicine from Sima Yue and bandaged his own wounds. However, because one of the wounds was on his arm, he had no choice but to let her help. When Sima Yue finished bandaging Wei Ziqi and Bei Gongtang's wounds, Fatty Chu suddenly thought of something and looked at Sima Yue strangely. "What's wrong with you? Why are you looking at me like that?" Sima Yue was a little scared by Fatty Chu's gaze. "Yue, we're all injured, but you're not," Fatty Chu said. When he said this, Wei Ziqi, Bei Gongtang, and Ouyang Fei also thought of something. They were all injured, but Sima Yue wasn't injured at all. "Cough, cough this." Sima Yue didn't know how to reply and pretended to cough twice. "Ah, we were worried that you would be in danger when you came to the mountain. So you're the one who hid your strength well." Wei Ziqi suddenly laughed and said, Sima Yue rubbed her nose and laughed. "You're very strong." Ouyang Fei looked at Sima Yue and said, during the battle, he realized that Sima Yue was fast and accurate every time she killed the flame wolves. Although she knew the weaknesses of the flame wolves, this was inseparable from her strength. "Today's matter, I keep feeling that something is wrong," Bei Gongtang said. "You realized it too?" Ouyang Fei looked at Bei Gongtang. It seemed that he wasn't the only one who realized that something was wrong. "What's wrong?" Fatty Chu looked at the few of them, puzzled. "Everything is wrong," Wei Ziqi said. What?" Sima Yue looked at Fatty Chu's puzzled expression and said, "Don't you think that person's appearance is very strange?" "What's strange about that person?" Fatty Chu asked. Sima Yue looked at him with disdain. She had already said so much, but this guy still didn't understand. "Fatty Chu, that person today seems to have the same strength as us. He might even be weaker than us. But why would he come to the dangerous Pu Luo mountain range alone? Where are his companions?" Wei Ziqi explained patiently. Fatty Chu blinked his eyes and said, "Hearing you say that, it's a little strange. That's not the only strange thing." Sima Yue smiled faintly. a cold glint in her eyes. Chapter 76. What else is strange? Fatty Chu asked. Fatty, didn't you notice? Before that person came to us, his speed was about the same as a pack of wolves. But after he threw the wolf pup to you, his speed suddenly increased a lot. Soon, he was out of sight. Don't you think it's strange that there's such a big difference in speed? Sima Yu said, Look at him before. Isn't it more like he's luring the wolf pack to us? You're saying that person intentionally lured the wolves to our place. Is that person trying to harm us? Fatty Chu cried out in shock. Sima Yue gave him a "you're not stupid" expression. F***CK. Who is that person? Why does he want to harm us? Fatty Chu shouted. No matter who it is, they will find out eventually. There's no point in guessing here. Ouyang Fei said. Yes, it's useless to think about it now. Since he's still in the mountains, there's a chance we'll meet him again. Wei Ziqi said, Today, everyone is tired and injured. I feel that we should just set up camp and rest. All right. The 5 of them rested for a day. During this time, many people passed by the place where they had set up camp. Look, it's another large group of disciples. Fatty Chu sat beside Sima Yue and said as he looked at another group of people passing by. Sima Yue did not have a good impression of those arrogant people. But speaking of which, Ziqi is also a member of a large family clan. Why isn't he like these people who have their noses in the air? Fatty Chu asked suspiciously. Aren't you the same? Fatty Chu said with a smile. How can my clan compare to your Wei clan? Fatty Chu shook his head. Hey, speaking of which, we still don't know Ouyang and Beigong's clans. It seems so. Wei Ziqi nodded in agreement. When they first got to know each other, Ouyang Fei and Beigong Tang did not mention anything about themselves. However, they were not familiar with each other at that time, so they did not ask in detail. Later on, when everyone became familiar with each other, he forgot to ask. Ouyang Fei shrugged and said, I have no relatives. I'm an orphan. He said it casually, but Sima Yue could feel the hatred in his words. I only have a mother and a younger brother, but they're in a place very far away. When Beigong Tang said this, her eyes were blurred as she looked at the sky. Her body emitted pain and resentment. Sima Yue looked at the two of them and frowned. It seemed like the two of them had a story that no one knew about. Wei Ziqi patted Ouyang Fei's shoulder and said, It's all right. In the future, we will be your family. That's right, we're from the same courtyard, and we're also a team. In the future, we'll all be your family. Fatty Chu added. Ouyang Fei turned his head and saw the sincerity in Wei Ziqi's and Fatty Chu's eyes. All right, we're all brothers from now on. Yes, brother. Fatty Chu stood up and sat beside Ouyang Fei as they clapped their hands. The friendship between men was actually very pure. As long as I recognized you, you would be my brother. After a few months of interaction, Ouyang Fei also knew their characters and slowly accepted them. His cold heart was also warmed up bit by bit. Sima Yue smiled as she looked at the 3 of them and said, Hey, count me in. Haha, we won't forget about you. Fatty Chu said with a big laugh. Beigong Tang looked at the happy and harmonious people, and loneliness flashed across her eyes. As if she couldn't stand the scene in front of her, she stood up and left. What's wrong with Beigong? Everyone looked at each other in dismay, their eyes filled with confusion. I'll go and see her. Sima Yue stood up and walked in the direction that Beigong Tang left. Beigong Tang came to the side of the river and stared blankly at the surface of the river. When she heard movement behind her, she turned her head and saw Sima Yue. She asked, Why are you here? I should be the one asking you this. Why did you run out alone? Sima Yue came to Beigong Tang's side and kicked a stone into the river, causing ripples. What's wrong with me? Beigong Tang shook her head. You're purposely distancing yourself from everyone. Sima Yue said. Beigong Tang was stunned and denied. I'm not. You are. Sima Yue looked at Beigong Tang. We've known each other for a few months now, and you've always kept a distance from everyone. Just now, you left because you saw Ouyang Fei and Ziqi, right? Beigong Tang didn't speak and only stared at the surface of the river. You're worried, right? Sima Yue continued. worried about your mother and brother." Hearing Sima Yoyue's words, Bei Gongtang's aura immediately changed. She looked at her warily and asked coldly, "Who are you?" Sima Yue wasn't frightened by her and smiled. "You don't have to be nervous. I don't know where your house is, and I don't know what you've been through. I don't even know why you're so sensitive. I just saw the worry in your eyes." "Really?" Sima Yue shrugged. "I'm considered a household name in the capital, although my reputation isn't very good. My whereabouts have never been a secret." Bei Gongtang stared at her for a while before she thought of something and turned to look at the river. Although she didn't say anything, she wasn't as cold as before. Sima Yue saw this and knew that she wasn't so guarded against her. She pursed her lips and said, "Although I used to be alone, I recently realized that it's not bad to be with someone. No matter how you were in the past or what you'll encounter in the future, we're all together at this stage. Don't forget that we're comrades who fought side by side. We're now people who can trust each other with our backs. If you want to find someone to talk to, we'll always be here." Bei Gongtang nodded, indicating that she understood. "All right, let's go back. They saw you leave without a word, and we're all worried about you." Sima Yue patted Bei Gongtang's shoulder and said. When they returned to the campsite, Wei Ziqi and the others heaved a sigh of relief and started to chat. Although Bei Gongtang didn't interrupt much, she would occasionally reply to what they said. Sima Yue looked at the few of them and realized that the battle this time had brought them closer. If they were a team in the past, they were now comrades who fought together. At night, everyone returned to their own tents to rest. Bei Gongtang laid on her small bed and dozed off. Her eyes suddenly opened and were filled with uncontrollable joy. "Mengji, you're awake?" "Master, I was injured too badly last time. I'm only awake temporarily." A female voice sounded in Bei Gongtang's mind. "Mengji, you were injured to this extent because you wanted to protect me when I left. It's already been so many years, and you still need to rely on sleep to recover." Bei Gongtang blamed herself. "Master, you don't have to blame yourself. Protecting you is what I should do." Mengji said. "Master, I didn't wake up for long this time. I'll tell you the reason why I woke up. I feel that there's a medicine in the mountains that's about to mature. If I can take it, I'll be completely healed. Master, if it's possible." Mengji's voice became softer and softer. She didn't even finish speaking before she fell asleep again. "Mengji, since that medicine is good for your injuries, I'll definitely get it for you." Bei Gongtang tightened her grip on her clothes when she thought of the unconscious Mengji. Chapter 77. At the same time, in Sima Yoyue's tent, she was surprised to see Immerse come out. "I didn't call you. How did you come out?" "I can enter and exit this spirit pearl as I wish, unless your strength is higher than mine," Immerse said. "All right." Sima Yue shrugged and said, "What are you doing out here this time?" Immerse looked toward the inner area and said, "I smell something." "Taste. What was that smell? Why can't I smell anything?" Sima Yue sniffed hard but did not find anything special. "It's far from here. How could you smell it now?" Immerse said. "What is it that attracted you here?" Sima Yue asked curiously. "Golden snake fruit." "What?" When Sima Yue heard about the golden snake fruit, the first thing that came to her mind was the bright red, apple-like fruit on Earth in her previous life. However, she knew that it was definitely not an ordinary thing. Then, the information about the golden snake fruit appeared in his mind. Last time, she had seen it in a medical book in the Soul Pearl. The golden snake fruit was a kind of golden yellow fruit. It took 700 years to bloom, 700 years to bear fruit, and 700 years to mature. Each time, it would only bear 7 fruits. Eating the fruit directly could raise one's cultivation level. However, one could only eat the size of a fingernail at a time. Otherwise, there would be too much energy in one's body, and it would be easy for one's meridians to explode. If it was refined into a pill, such a situation would not occur. However, this kind of pill would cost at least tens of thousands of gold coins. It was hundreds of times more precious than the pill she had eaten before, which cost dozens of gold coins per pill. Not only did the fruit have the effect of increasing one's strength, Even the leaves and roots were treasures. Therefore, once the golden snake fruit was discovered, it would be the object that everyone would fight over. However, this golden snake fruit was not so easy to obtain. Not to mention the fact that there were spirit beasts guarding the area. Once the fruit ripened, its fragrance would spread for thousands of miles, attracting all the spirit beasts nearby. This was because this thing was not only useful to humans, but also to spirit beasts that consumed it. I didn't expect the golden snake fruit to be so attractive that even you are tempted. Sima Yue teased. It's not easy to find a heavenly treasure. Mo Sha didn't deny it. And this thing is also beneficial to you. What benefits? Raise my cultivation level. Sima Yue was excited when she heard that there were benefits. Mo Sha shook his head. Most people only know that it can raise one's cultivation, but very few people know that at the same time, it's also a great nourishment for the soul. Your soul was once seriously injured, and this will greatly affect your cultivation and alchemy in the future. If you can have the nourishment of the golden snake fruit tree, it will have a great effect on the recovery of your soul. Huh? It can even heal souls? Sima Yue looked at Mo Sha in shock. That's right. This golden snake fruit absorbs the moonlight and then transforms it in the body, emitting a milky white gas. This gas is beneficial to the human soul. Mo Sha explained. Even if the soul isn't injured, under its long-term nourishment, it will become even stronger. So good. It was indeed a treasure. I must get my hands on this thing. Sima Yue immediately sat up and looked at Mo Sha, who turned around to look at her. She smiled and said, I know you also want this thing to heal your soul. Otherwise, why would a guy who doesn't wake up early without benefits come out and tell me all this? I can feel that there's at least one spirit beast around the golden snake fruit. Mo Sha said, also, when the golden snake fruit ripens, it will attract a large group of spirit beasts. Adding on the humans that have been attracted recently, it won't be easy to steal it. You will help me, Sima Yue said with certainty. Oh, you're quite confident. Mo Sha raised his eyebrows. Of course, Sima Yue said confidently. If this thing had nothing to do with you, perhaps you wouldn't make a move. However, your soul has left your body for who knows how many years, and your injuries aren't any lighter than mine. Although the spirit pearl can nourish you, the effects aren't fast. If you can add on the golden snake fruit tree, you can recover even faster. Therefore, you are also determined to obtain this golden snake fruit. I can't easily make a move, Mo Sha said. I know, you just have to make a move when necessary. Sima Yue waved her hand and said, this golden snake fruit is very picky about the environment it grows in. I don't know why it grew in a low-level world like the Yilin continent this time. Mo Sha said suspiciously. Who knows? Maybe it knows that you're useful to me, so it grew. Sima Yue said jokingly. Mo Sha's mouth twitched at her words, and he was too lazy to reply to her. He closed his eyes and sensed for a while, then opened them and said, the golden snake fruit still needs 20 days to ripen. It's best if you can go 2 days earlier to observe the situation. I understand. Sima Yue nodded. Seeing this, Mo Sha's body turned into a wisp of black smoke and returned to the spirit pearl. Sima Yue once again laid on the bed and muttered to herself, 20 days, I've already gathered enough spirit beast corpses. Now, all that's left is to find the herbs. It should be done in half a month. However, the inner regions are so dangerous. When the time comes, it's better if I go by myself to prevent them from falling into danger. However, how do I make them leave? Forget it. I don't want to think about it anymore. I'll think about it when the time comes. After thinking it through, Sima Yue closed her eyes and silently chanted the soul-refining art in her heart, beginning to cultivate her soul. After a day and night of recuperation, in addition to the effects of pills, Fatty Chu and the others' injuries were more or less healed. At the very least, there was no problem for them to rush on the road. Thinking that there were still a few herbs to find, everyone packed their things and set off on the second day. In order to seize the time, Sima Yue threw Little Roar out and got him to find a spirit beast that could talk and ask her where the herbs grew. She then brought everyone to pick them directly. Even so, they still spent 12 days to pick all the herbs. At the boundary between the inner and outer regions, Sima Yue and the others kept the flame grass in the valley into their own spatial rings. Hee, I really didn't expect that there would be so much flame grass here. Fatty Chu said happily. Bei Gong, didn't you say that there was danger near the flame grass? How come we didn't even find a single spirit beast? Bei Gong Tang was also a little suspicious, saying, logically speaking, there should be spirit beasts gathering here. How come there aren't any? They should have been attracted by the movements in the inner regions. Sima Yue said, we haven't met many spirit beasts these past few days. It's said that when a few heavenly treasures appear, it will cause a huge commotion. They probably want to join in the fun. So it's like that. Fatty Chu nodded his head, pretending to be serious. After harvesting all the aged flame grass, their mission this time could be considered to have been completed successfully. Wei Ziqi looked at Sima Yue's back. He originally thought that bringing her along would be a burden, but he didn't expect that after coming here, she would be the biggest help to everyone. Our mission has already been completed. When are we going back? Wei Ziqi asked. Hearing his words, Sima Yue and Bei Gong Tang's body stiffened. Chapter 78. You guys can go back first. I want to stay in a mountain range for a few more days. Bei Gong Tang spoke first. Why, Bei Gong? Are you not leaving with us? Wei Ziqi asked. Bei Gong Tang looked in the direction of the inner regions and said, I still have things to do. I won't be going with you guys. Bei Gong, this mountain is very dangerous. You're alone. Fatty Chu said worriedly. I have something that I must do. Bei Gong Tang interrupted Fatty Chu. Sima Yue saw that Bei Gong Tang's attitude was firm and guessed that she should also want to snatch the golden snake fruit. From the looks of it, she must have had her reasons. You want to seize that treasure? Ouyang Fei said. Really? Fatty Chu looked at Bei Gong Tang and asked. Bei Gong Tang was stunned for a moment. She did not think that Ouyang Fei would be able to guess it so quickly. She nodded and said, yes. Bei Gong, yesterday we heard from the passers-by that the treasure is in the inner regions. Let's not talk about how dangerous the inner regions are. During this period of time, many experts have come here. It's not like you don't know that if you want to snatch the treasure from their hands, you have to have the strength to do so. Wei Ziqi said seriously. I know, Bei Gong Tang said, but I must obtain that thing. Why? Ouyang Fei asked. Bei Gong Tang was silent for a while before saying, I have my reasons. You guys go out first, don't wait for me. No, if you don't tell us the reason, we won't let you go. Wei Ziqi said resolutely and decisively. We are comrades who have fought together. We will not leave you alone, nor will we let you take the risk alone. That's right, Bei Gong. We won't let you stay here alone. Fatty Chu agreed. Bei Gong Tang was stunned when she heard this. She opened her mouth, but nothing came out. Sima Yue came to Bei Gong Tang's side and patted her shoulder, saying, Is your contracted beast injured? How did you know? Bei Gong Tang was extremely shocked. This Sima Yue was always able to tell her true thoughts. I guessed, Sima Yue said. Bei Gong, is that really the case? Fatty Chu asked. Bei Gong Tang nodded, saying, A few years ago, I met with danger. In order to save me, my contracted beast suffered a very serious injury. All these years, it has been in deep sleep to heal. A few days ago, he told me that if I could get that treasure, he could wake up. She fell into a deep sleep to save me. Now that I know there's something that can heal her, I won't give up. After she finished speaking, everyone else fell silent. Sima Yue hugged her shoulder and said, I wanted to see the treasure myself. Since that's the case, I'll go with you. You also want to go? Wei Ziqi and Fatty Chu called out at the same time. Even Ouyang Fei looked at the two of them in disagreement. That's right. Sima Yue nodded. I'll go with Bei Gong. You three can go first. Don't tell us to go back first. Fatty Chu said, If you want to go, I'll go with you. Wei Ziqi thought for a while and said, Although I don't know what that thing is that it's so attractive to the two of you. Since you want to go, count me in. One more person means one more strength. I won't leave alone either. Ouyang Fei said. You guys. Bei Gongtang looked at Wei Ziqi and the others. Seeing the smile on Sima Yue's face, she suddenly felt her nose sour. That warm feeling in her heart had not appeared for a long, long time. She always felt that she was not close to them, but she never thought that they would treat her like this. All right, since everyone wants to go, the treasure won't just be for you, Sima Yue said with a smile when she saw how touched Bei Gongtang was. Yue, what do you mean? Fatty Chu asked. Since everyone has decided to go together, I'll explain the situation there to everyone. After I'm done, you guys can decide if you want to go or not. Sima Yue said. Yue, how did you know? Don't ask me how I know. Just listen to what I have to say. Sima Yue said, that treasure is the golden snake fruit that rarely appears in this world. What kind of treasure is the golden snake fruit? Ouyang Fei and Bei Gongtang were shocked, while Fatty Chu and Wei Ziqi were puzzled. Although Bei Gongtang knew that the treasure was not ordinary, she never thought that would actually be the golden snake fruit. No wonder Meng Ji would wake up and tell her this. The golden snake fruit blossoms every 700 years, bears fruit every 700 years, and ripens every 700 years. If the golden snake fruit is taken directly, it can raise a person's cultivation. The effect of refining it into a pill is even better, so it's a treasure that people and spirit beasts fight over. Sima Yue explained. Damn, it's so powerful. Fatty Chu said in shock. That's why it attracted so many treasures. Sima Yue said, but now is not the time to discuss the value of the golden snake fruit. You guys also know that there will always be powerful spirit beasts by the side of treasures. This golden snake fruit is protected by a spirit beast. Spirit beast. The other four sucked in a breath. This spirit beast was an existence comparable to a spirit paragon. If it was placed in the continent, it would be a peak existence. If they wanted to snatch the 7 golden snake fruits from the spirit beast's mouth, the difficulty could be imagined. Not only that, Sima Yue continued to speak. When this golden snake fruit ripens, its fragrance will spread for thousands of miles, attracting all the spirit beasts nearby. Recently, we have rarely met any powerful spirit beasts. Because the golden snake fruit is about to ripen, those spirit beasts have all gone to the inner regions. So other than that spirit beast, we may meet countless spirit beasts. Hiss! Everyone had already been shocked, speechless by her words. Also, Sima Yue looked at their expressions and wanted to tell them if what she said was correct. Also, there are those experts who have come to the mountain in the past month, right? Ouyang Fei said. Sima Yue nodded her head. They had been in the mountain for half a month and had seen many powers go to the inner regions. She did not need to say this. Everyone understood. Oh my god, this battle formation is too scary. Fatty Chu found his voice after a long time and sighed. So you have to consider carefully whether you want to go or not. Sima Yue said, Bei Gong and I have our reasons for not going, but you don't have to take the risk. After all, although that thing is good, it is also very dangerous. Hearing her words, Wei Ziqi and the others were silent for a while before saying seriously, since it's so dangerous, wouldn't it be more dangerous for you to go alone? Let's go together and take a look. If it's really impossible, don't force it. I promised young Master Yu Lu that I would take good care of you. If you don't go back, how can I go back? Fatty Chu said. I'm interested in that treasure. Ouyang Fei said. Bei Gongtang sniffled and suppressed her emotions. She looked at them and said, no matter what the result is, Bei Gong will never forget your friendship. I want to go myself, so you don't have to count me in. Sima Yue said as she shrugged her shoulders. Seeing her shameless expression, Bei Gongtang smiled happily for the first time. Chapter 79. This was the first time everyone had seen Bei Gongtang smile. In the past, she was always icy cold. This smile made people feel dazzled. Cough, cough. Wei Ziqi was the first to regain his senses. Pretending to cough twice, he said, where is this golden snake fruit? How long will it take to ripen? With so many people and spirit beasts eyeing it, should we come up with a countermeasure? When Wei Ziqi said this, everyone's eyebrows furrowed. Just the thought of that divine beast was enough to give them a headache. On top of that, all the spirit beasts in the mountain range had been attracted over, as well as those who were eyeing them covetously. Without a plan, it would be very difficult for them to succeed. This golden snake fruit still has 7 days to mature. Let's first find the place and then check out the situation there. Let's think of a countermeasure later. Sima Yue said, but where is the golden snake fruit? Which direction should we go? Fatty Chu asked. I know the general direction. If we go to the inner region, it should be easy to find that place. Sima Yue said, since that's the case, let's go check out the situation first. Ouyang Fei said, wait. Sima Yue called out to them. Seeing that they had turned around to look at her, she said, the fire wolf's corpse has always been with me. I'll give it to you now. If we're forced to separate, you can take it back to complete the mission. As she spoke, she took out all the corpses of the fire wolves from her interspatial ring. She gave each of them a few corpses and put them into their own interspatial rings. Then, they began their journey. Actually, Sima Yue didn't know the way either, but with Immerse Sha giving them directions, they just needed to hurry. 3 days later, they arrived at the inner area of the mountain range where the golden snake fruit was located. Following the footprints left behind by those people, they arrived at a mountain. The golden snake fruit was in the middle of a cliff, more than 100 meters above the ground. The other slopes in the other directions were filled with people, while the valley was occupied by countless spirit beasts. Sima Yue and the rest came to an empty space. They were shocked when they saw the situation around them. So many people and spirit beasts. Wei Ziqi sighed. You want to snatch the golden snake fruit from the hands of so many people and spirit beasts. Ouyang Fei didn't finish his sentence, but everyone understood what he meant. That was simply impossible. No matter what, I won't give up so easily. Bei Gongtang clenched her fist and said, is that the golden snake fruit? Fatty Chu pointed at the golden snake fruit tree in the middle of the cliff and asked, in such a high place, even if there is no one else, wanting to pluck this golden snake fruit would not be easy. Wei Ziqi said, although the cliff is high, it is not straight. There's a slope at the bottom. Sima Yue said after observing for a while, but a normal person wouldn't be able to climb up. At least we won't be able to climb up. Fatty Chu said, right now, we can only see if we could take advantage of the chaos caused by the ripening of the golden snake fruit. Ouyang Fei said, Bei Gong, if it really doesn't work, I understand. Bei Gongtang nodded. If she really couldn't think of a way, she wouldn't force it. If he really lost his life because of this, then it really wasn't worth it. Moreover, she still had so many things waiting for her to do. I'm just afraid that taking advantage of the chaos won't be easy. Sima Yue rubbed her chin as she pondered. Looks like we really have to think of a way. Yue, look, isn't that the general? Fatty Chu suddenly pointed at a tent and said. Sima Yue looked over, and sure enough, Sima Lai had brought a few people from the general's residence to set up camp on the hill opposite the golden snake fruit. Why is grandfather here? Seeing Sima Lai observing from outside the tent, she immediately hid behind Fatty Chu and said to the others, anyway, there are still 4 days until the golden snake fruit ripens. Let's leave this place first. That's good too. If we stay here, I'm afraid that we will become a stumbling block for those powers. Wei Ziqi said. Nobody knew why Sima Yue didn't want to look for Sima Lai, but they really didn't have much use here, so they nodded and left together. The 5 of them avoided the others and quietly went down the mountain. They came to the mountaintop beside and found a place to rest. Yue, why did you run away when you saw the general and the others? Fatty Chu only asked the question in his heart after sitting down. If grandfather knew that we were here, he would definitely send people to bring us back. At that time, how would we be able to snatch the golden snake fruit? Sima Yue said, in the remaining 3 days, we can properly investigate the surrounding environment. Wei Ziqi said, that's good too. Right now, the spirit beast's attention is all on the golden snake fruit. The inner region is also much safer than usual. Bei Gongtang said, since that's the case, then we... Sima Yue hadn't finished speaking when her expression suddenly changed, and she said, "You guys wait for me here. I'll leave for a while." "Yue, where are you going?" Although the inner region is safer than usual, it's still very dangerous to be alone. Fatty Chu said. "Did something happen?" Wei Ziqi asked. "Little Roar just transmitted a message to me. It seems that he met with some trouble," Sima Yue said anxiously. Although Little Roar kept saying that he was an ancient spirit beast, he didn't have much battle strength now. If he were to fight with someone, it was unknown who would win. Furthermore, if he didn't meet with any danger, he wouldn't have called her so anxiously. Thinking of this, her heart burned with anxiety, and she couldn't wait to rush over. "We'll go with you," Bei Gong Tang said. Sima Yue looked at everyone and saw that they were determined not to let her leave alone. She nodded her head and said, "Yiguang, bring us to find Little Roar." Just as everyone was wondering who Yiguang was, a majestic iron claw tiger appeared in front of everyone. "Master, quickly come up." Yiguang also felt that Little Roar was in danger and turned into his original form as he spoke. "It can talk. It's another spirit beast?" Looking at Yiguang, and then looking at Sima Yue, everyone was extremely shocked. They didn't think that other than Little Roar, she actually had another spirit beast. However, now wasn't the time to be shocked. Everyone quickly calmed themselves down and jumped onto Yiguang's back. Yiguang said, "Hold on tight." Then he sped off. They followed Little Roar's senses and advanced. After half an hour, they finally arrived at Little Roar's location. However, what they saw was not a battle between spirit beasts, but a small cage. Little Roar and a small bird were lying down with their eyes listlessly. Their heads were drooping. One look and they knew that something was wrong. Ever since Little Roar woke up, Sima Yue had never seen him so listless. Seeing him like this, her heart ached. However, she was also vexed. Previously, she shouldn't have listened to Little Roar's words and allowed him to wander around the mountain. If not, he wouldn't have ended up like this. As if sensing Sima Yue's arrival, Little Roar, who was lying in the cage, suddenly looked towards the place where they were hiding. Just as she was about to go save Little Roar, the two people who were drinking in the middle started to talk about the spirit beast they had captured. Sima Yue didn't think that they would bump into a huge conspiracy on this trip. You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.